My name is Tofumi Adekoya, and I'm honored to be your moderator and host for today. I'm very excited to be here, as I'm sure we all are. The Dealhq Career 2025 Dealhq Career Fair, an open day program, was specifically designed for undergraduates and recent law graduates across universities from Africa to bring them into that out of classroom experience that introduces them to the practical realities of law within the continent. It is the first of its kind, and we have designed it specifically so that we can bridge that gap between knowledge and practice. Today, we have gathered an incredible line of speakers, and we have gathered over 500 registered participants. And we hope that we can bring together that divide. Without further ado, to get us started on this incredible journey, I would be bringing up our partner and head of corporate services, Mr. Izu Obadima, to deliver the welcome address. Thank you. Mr. Izu, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Tofumi. Thank you, the team, for this event. All right, good morning, everyone. As you already heard, my name is Izu, and I would like to, on behalf of the HQ partners, extend a very warm welcome to you all. It's so great and exciting to have all of us here, so many of us, and many more people are joining. Today's our career fair and open day. Today being August 14th, we'll be discussing on the theme, charting distinctive legal career pathways. This is a burning issue, especially for the young people. Just recently, over 5,000 people were called to the bar, and I'm sure a lot of them would be thinking on how to position themselves for their legal practice, and so many others who are still on their way to join the legal profession. So we'll be discussing on how best to chart a distinctive legal career pathways. We've put together a fantastic agenda with a lineup of carefully selected speakers who will share their unique experiences and insights from their different backgrounds. We'll have to start with an icebreaker speech, which will be followed by Tosin Ajose is the lead part of the HQ discussion on what makes a deal lawyer. This is very important for everyone that wants to be a transactional lawyer. We'll also hear from keynote speaker, Mr. Moshood Olajide, about building a career as a boardroom executive. Later on, we'll commence with one of the plenary sections where we'll have my Lord Honorable Justice Raymond Oshodi, who will be discussing on what it takes to sit on the bench. The bench is not an easy place to be on. It is also exciting, as it could also actually be boring for some persons, but to enjoy sitting on the bench, you will need to hear my Lord this morning. Also will be on that section, we'll also have Mr. Joshua Darinijo, who will share the untold truths about building your own law firm. Agenda include other two sections, or panel sections. The first will be discussing on recruiter secrets, what firms really look for when hiring. And this will be featuring some top tier career professionals like Ms. Stephanie Okwe, Ms. Busola Ajala, and Ms. Ijoma Uchebe, as well as Mr. Anthony Ribble. The second panel section will focus on building a value-driven legal career. We'll have some seasoned persons, lawyers who have, paved the way for themselves in their different backgrounds. We'll have Mr. Paul Ogu, we'll have Mr. Manso Azi, we'll have Ms. Jalolua Dewale as the panelist for that session. So in all, I'll encourage you to participate fully, ask questions where you have one during the Q&A sessions, and engage with our wonderful speaker and panelists. We hope that today's event will provide you with valuable guidance and inspiration as you chart your own distinctive legal career pathways. And by extension, I would also add, for those who are already in a certain pathway and who may want to pivot, I'm sure by the time you've heard all the speakers, you may make some valuable decisions for yourself. Thank you everyone for joining, and please let's get started. Relax and enjoy all the sections. Thank you so much. So for me.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Izu Chukwu Obagima. We really, really appreciate you for giving us a summary of what to expect from this value-packed program. With so just so we can dive in quickly to what we are all here for, I will be introducing our first speaker. But before I do that, I just wanted to quickly let us note that whatever questions we're going to have in the course of the sessions and in the course of the program, we can just drop them on the chat box. We have specifically dedicated the Q&A session after each speaker, and as your questions arise, please share them in the chat box, and we'll address as many as we can within the constraints of time that we have. Our first speaker for today is a thought leader with a repository of awards and the practice head and lead advisor of Dealhq Partners. She has over 20 years experience in transaction law and dealing and brokering transactions. She started Dealhq Partners in 2018, and the firm has grown to be one of the fastest rising boutique transaction firms in Lagos. She also sits on the board of several companies, and she will be taking us on the session titled "What It Means to Be a Deal Lawyer." Knowledge, smarts, or something more. Please, let's warmly welcome Mrs. Tosin Adjose, lead partner and advisor, Dealhq Partners. Mr. Adjose, the floor is yours, please.
Good morning, everyone. Please let me know if you can hear me. Good morning. Please let me know if you can hear me. Can somebody please signal if you can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Tosin Adjose, and it's an honor and a rare privilege to be here sharing my thoughts on the subject. Before I start, let me first of all say a very big thank you to the members of the Dealhq team who put this together. It's been a 3-week-long, very expository program where we've had law undergraduates from different faculties across Africa sitting in our office and going through our 2025 summer internship program. So this virtual career fair is one of the flagships of that internship program. So first, let me say a big thank you to everyone that put this together. It's been a very intensive 3 weeks. I'm sure that all the participants in that program will agree with me. Apart from the fact that we are wrapping that up, we've also used this as an opportunity to reach out to a much larger constituency of students and young graduates from law faculties across Africa. And we think that this is our own little contribution to supporting the next generation of law professionals. And before I start on the subject that I've been asked to speak about what makes a good deals lawyer, I think that I would like to just encourage as many of us as are on this call and here to listen to all the different thoughts around how to optimize your career pathway as a lawyer. I think that it's important for us to know that there are a lot of opportunities in the legal in the legal career that is available to a lot of us. And so understanding that would help you determine where you want to position, how you want to position, and how to optimize your skill sets to become that solid professional that you can be in the near future. I remember when I had just come out of law school, I was at a very critical point of intersection in my life. And at some point, I wanted to join the Navy. I also wanted to do business, but I think eventually the law won because I do find that there's so much. I don't know any career that is as versatile as the legal profession. It's so important that you know all the different things that are possible to become as a lawyer and that you determine and define what you think is
I'm sorry, I think Mr. Jose had to drop off for a little bit. I just want to reiterate the fact that I see some of us raising up our hands. We can just send our questions, whatever questions we have, post it on the chat box. And when it's time for the Q&A session, after each speaker, we would endeavor to answer as many questions as possible. In the meantime, please just let's sit, wait for Ms. Ajose. And while we are doing that, we can, share the link to this value-packed event across our social media platforms. We can put them on our Facebook, on our WhatsApp, on our Instagram, and just to bring as many of our friends as we can bring in. Thank you very much. I believe Ms. Ajose is ready for us right now. Ms. Ajose, please, the floor is yours.
my audio on. Okay, fantastic. So I'm supposed to be speaking on the subject, what makes a good deals lawyer? Is it knowledge? Is it smarts or something else? So I'm really thankful that I've had a very interesting career, nearing about 20 years doing transactional work as a lawyer. So it's very exciting for me to be speaking on this subject. And I remember a couple of days back, I was speaking with the interns during one of their live sessions on this particular subject. And it was very interesting that I didn't say anything at all. I didn't contribute anything at all. I just moderated a conversation that they themselves made contributions to, and we were able to align our positions on exactly what made a good deals lawyer. This morning, in the next 5 minutes, I'm going to be focusing on what a deals lawyer DNA is. And first, what is a deals lawyer? A deals lawyer is someone who works on the transactional side of law. What do? We support clients to realize their commercial objectives. And these commercial objectives can be as broad as they come. It can be to support a client to set up a business. It can be to support a client to raise financing for a business or a project. It can be to support a client to buy an asset. It can be to support a client to optimize their business, support a client to expand their business, acquire another business, or anything around this very broad pathway. Remember, I said supporting a client to realize their commercial objectives. And this can be as broad as they come, relocating their business to another country or anything at all across that pathway of their commercial objectives. So what's different between a deals lawyer and maybe what people will call a barrister or a litigator? So for those of us that sit on this side of the divide, many times the main difference is that we do not do advocacy type work. So you won't see us going to court. You won't see us playing defense for clients or trying to provide legal representation for them, whether it's in the court of law, at arbitration, or other kinds of dispute resolution platforms. What we do on this side of the divide is we enable business. We support, we provide advice to clients, and we help them to structure deals in a way that ensures that their commercial objectives are realized. This is not to minimize the strength of the lawyers that work on the other side, but there is a clear distinction between what we do. And there are some lawyers that are actually able to combine both and work as deals or transactional lawyers and at the same time practice as barristers. I always look at those kind of people and I have the utmost respect for them because it takes a lot of skills and a lot of tenacity to be able to work across the two divides. I don't work across the two divides, so I can't really say that I know what it is like. So the first point for me is knowledge, and I think the subject already speaks to that, what I would call technical mastery. One of the things that I think is important for us to know as lawyers or lawyers to be is that we are in a knowledge industry. What we sell is knowledge and time. The reason why it's knowledge is because, there's a balance that we know that is very common that is used to describe lawyers. They call us counsel or counselors. And you know that anyone that has that title counsel or counselors, it's representative of the fact that you are an advisor. You are someone that people takes opinions from. You guide people, they listen to you because there is a reasonable presumption that you know more than the person you're advising on the subject of what you're speaking to. So it's important that as a lawyer, you are very, very high on, growing your knowledge and your capacity. And what does that mean? You must have technical mastery of any subject matter that you are advising on. The key things that I would say that you need to know and be apprised of is the laws and the regulations that relate to the subject of what you're dealing with. What does the law say? You also have to have basic knowledge of contracts, financing, and tax laws, because these will come in handy anytime you are providing legal advice to your clients. Another thing that comes under technical mastery is risk. Being able to have an unmatched eye for risk, knowing what can possibly go wrong as you navigate the pathways of your client's business and seeing them ahead of time and walking your client through the pathway of avoiding that risk or at least mitigating it where it is possible. I think the final thing I will speak about around technical mastery is knowing how to write or communicate with precision, whether it is you're communicating or writing an email or you are drafting a legal document. You must be able to do it clearly, articulate points clearly and with precision without adding anything that could be misconstrued or leaving out details that could be helpful at the point where parties are trying to operate the contract. I think that's important. Another point I would like to speak to is commercial acumen. What is commercial acumen? Understanding the fundamentals and the dynamics of deal making, human interaction, or business. You must understand the key commercial drivers of your client's business. You must be able to speak the language of business. one of the things that I see very commonly is that lawyers come from the university and from law school, and we've learned all these legal maxims and all these legal jargons, and we want to impress people, and then we go into meetings or in our daily communication with clients, we are using verbose language that people cannot even understand. When you are working as a deals lawyer, you must understand that you are working with a community of people that are likely not lawyers. You'll be working with business leaders, you will be working with financial advisors, tax advisors, people that have other technical skills apart from law. It's important that they are able to clearly understand and articulate what you're speaking to. You must understand your client's objectives clearly and know what their commercial drivers are, what they want, and what their pain points are. Many times we sit in meetings and we are representing clients, and you can see some lawyers trying to advance their own thoughts, their own positions, or their own objectives. That's not the reality of who we are as lawyers. Most of the time, it's important for us to frame our mind from the client's expectations and the client's objectives and use that to drive whatever it is that we are doing or the direction that we are taking the transactions. We must also be able to know how the law impacts our client's position or how the law can support our client's position and our client's objective. And many times, they say that the law is a beast. And it depends on the part of it that you are able to, use to advance your client's position or your client's objective. So the law can be utilized in different ways once you understand what the boundaries are and you are able to determine how you can use that same law to advance your client's objective. I think another one that I will speak to is what I will call emotional quotient or social quotient. And the two of them are some of the most critical skill sets that you can have as a deals lawyer. What do I mean by social quotient? You must have good relationships with people. It's so important. Law is primarily driven by human relationship. And so your ability to navigate, to build relationships, to minimize and de-escalate situations, to get the best out of people, to position cordiality is very important when you are a deals person. Because remember, your personal ideas and your personal character has the potential to even impact the outcomes for your clients. So it's important that your social quotient is high. You're very careful about how you position yourself, how you interact with people, how you communicate with people. My focus when I'm on transactions is to always ensure that I am getting the best out of people. And when you're able to get the best out of people, you will get the best outcome on the transaction. And so for emotional quotient, it will be being able to regulate yourself and your emotion. A lot of us have been hearing a lot of things that are going on in the news around some of the incidences during some flights that were taken, some local flights that were taken from different parts of the country where people demonstrated very low capacity to regulate their emotions, and a lot of that had led to, significant crisis for a lot of parties, including those that were not even anticipated. So as a lawyer, you must have the skill set that focuses on outcomes and not getting personal with people or trying to force your way. If you have emotional quotient or you're also able to regulate very well, one of the things that it will help you do is to be clear as to maintaining cordiality on transactions. It will also help you have a good footing around your communication and staying focused on outcomes and being able to ensure that when you are in that room, you're not only looking for a win for your client, you are positioning as if you are fair and you are balanced. both in your thinking and in the way that you communicate the intended outcomes. Many times, these are the things that determine whether you win on a deal or you don't win. And these things are very important. I think the other thing I will speak to is negotiation skills. Many times we have to ensure that we come into a room willing to be balanced, willing to be objective, willing to listen to the other side, whilst not compromising on your client's intended outcome. One of the things I always do when I get into a room is that I'm clear about three things: what I want to get out of that meeting, what I'm willing to compromise, and the third thing I'm clear about is what I am unwilling to compromise. So I would be the first to move to make a compromise as much as possible, because many times it just gives you favor across the room. It makes you look like the one that really wants the deal to close, wants everybody to win. And when you get to the point where you're unwilling to compromise, you don't look like an overbearing lawyer that would not listen to the other side. It's also important to be balanced, to be well regulated emotionally, and to build rapport with your colleagues. I cannot emphasize that enough. There are many times that your relationship with the lawyer on the other side is what would ensure that you are able to get a win. If somebody feels a bit, rubbed off wrongly about the way that you interact with them, is likely that they will get defensive when they are negotiating, and you're likely not to be able to get the desired outcome that you want from that scenario. The other thing I will speak about is grit. The legal practice or deals can be emotionally intense. They can also be mentally intense, because we are hard set on timelines, outcomes, and sometimes deadlines. And so many times we are working to ensure that we are able to meet the client's commercial objectives and also meet their time expectation. So sometimes it gets a bit tough. And when it gets tough, what will get you through from where you are till the end of the road is your grit, your capacity to endure, and your mindset about staying on something until you get a good result. There are times that we may sit on a transaction for 9 months or more. Sometimes the tempo of the transaction changes mid-transaction. It can become, very contentious, and then we have to go again, try to ensure that everybody has calm nerves, people are able to listen, people are able to reconsider positions and push, fair and favorable outcomes for all the parties that are across the table. I think that of all of these, the ones that I find to be the most important will be grit, emotional intelligence, and your social quotient, much more than knowledge and all the other things that we spoke about. So bottom line, what is the bottom line? What do I want everyone to take away from here? The best deals are not done by the most intelligent lawyers. The best deals are done by the lawyers who have a balanced combination of everything that it takes to be a good deals person. Number one, you must have knowledge, because that is really what we sell. Number two, you must have the capacity to relate with other people. Number three, you must build trust with your clients, because if your client doesn't trust you, they won't even listen to you in the first place. And so you will have a mismatch of your capacity to support them and their ability to receive the help that you're willing to give. I will speak about human relationships. You must ensure that you are well emotionally regulated, that you are focused on the outcomes, and that you have a good eye for risk. I hope this has been helpful. I would be very happy to take questions from this point. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a very amazing morning with you guys.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jose. That was a value-packed and breathtaking session. So much was said in so little time. And personally, I took notes. And what mattered to me, what I took on personally, was the need to understand business. I think a lot of students go to law school, go to school to study law, not to study business. And you come to the outside world, and you find that you have to play in the intersection of law and business. And while your knowledge of law is average at best, or more than average, you lack that knowledge of business, and you struggle, to meet your client's expectations and to bring the best value you can bring to the board. We are a little short on time, and so we just proceed directly to the next speaker. Who would
Okay, thank
try
you
to
very
merge.
much.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you very much. We'll try to merge the questions for your sessions and for his session together, and see how many of them we can take. So at this point, permit me to introduce our next speaker. Our next speaker, who is here to share his journey to the top. He has a reputation for building and leading teams to success at the head level, and is the current CEO of Aduva PLC. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce Mr. Moshood Olajide, who will be taking us on a session towards building a career path as a boardroom executive. Passion, grit, or luck? Mr. Moshood Olajide, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Tofumi, and good morning, everyone. I think it's good to start with appreciating the Dealhq team for putting together this fantastic opportunity for everyone to learn. I was just looking at the list of people on the call, and it's increasing by the minute. I think we have almost 120 people on the call. That for me is remarkable. So I would like to congratulate the Dealhq team for this feat. And I would also like to thank you for inviting me to speak about the topic you've chosen. So I see that this topic is around a lawyer who isn't necessarily practicing. So I'm neither working for Dealhq as a transaction advisor or as an advisor, or nor am I going to court. Put differently, I sell petrol, and the conversation I want to have with you this morning is to walk you through my own thoughts around what are the key drivers for success for a lawyer who is not necessarily an advisor formally, or a dispute resolution specialist, at least formally. Now, one of the things I struggle with every time is when people ask me, what do I do? I mean, every time I'm filling any form and there's a question of profession, I know that mentally I pause and I ask myself, okay, really, what's my profession? So I originally studied law, and I did both transaction advisory and litigation. I had appeared in at least most of the courts in Nigeria, as well as ad hoc tribunals. I also advised on several transactions. My sense is that I end up, every time I pause and I ask myself, am I really, what am I? I think I end up concluding all the time that I'm still a lawyer. And whether you categorize me in the skin of Mrs. Ajose as an advisor, or you categorize me in the skin of a dispute resolution specialist, I think I still identify primarily as a lawyer. And why that is important, I'll walk you through it in a couple of minutes. Now, the question I'm supposed to answer in this conversation is whether it is passion, grit, or luck that helps in building a successful career as a boardroom executive. Plainly speaking, I don't think it's one. I think it's all the three and a couple of others. The luck I have is that I'm coming after Mr. Joseph, who has covered a number of the points that I was going to cover. So I'll just make references to those points and then make any new point I have to make. So for me, let's think about what passion is, right? Um, just being passionate for me is nothing, right? You can be passionate about the wrong things. You can be passionate in the wrong way. You can be passionate about the wrong thing in the wrong way. You can be passionate about the right thing in the wrong way. You can be passionate about the wrong thing in the right way. So passion itself is not useful if it's not contextualized, right? You have to be passionate about the right things, and you have to be passionate about those right things in the right way. So what are the right things? What are the right priorities? You have to be passionate about your own personal development, right? One of the things that is most critical is you need to understand that when you work for people, or when you're working in a business, or you're working anywhere, you're not doing it just for the salary you're earning. You are doing it for the development of your own self. So you need to understand that for every brief that you've been asked to write as a dispute resolution specialist, or for every advice you've been asked to write as an advisor, or the first steps you take into business, right? For every of those steps, you have to understand that it's a personal development journey and not just a means to earn a pay or to earn a salary. If you make that distinction in your head and you're very, very clear about that distinction, that for every opportunity that comes your way is a way to develop yourself, not just a way to earn money, then you have a very, very remarkable outcome. And I'll give you an example. If so when I was litigating, right, when I was in dispute resolution, I know one of the things that my partner then used to tell me was, Moshood, it's not enough that you understand the principle. It's very, very important that you understand why the principle is important and how the principle was developed and what has happened to the principle over the years. And nothing kind of brought that out very clearly to me until there was a particular litigation we had when the only way out of that litigation for success for us was a technical point that was very, very, very nuanced. It wasn't a straightforward technical point, but was a point that was critical to the success of the case, but required a very deep understanding of the concept itself. So it's not enough for you to just say, for example, you're talking and just say voluntary non-fit injury or whatever big words that lawyers use these days. It's not enough for you to know the concept. It's not enough for you to know the meaning of the Latin. It's important for you to understand why was the principle established in the first place and how has the principle developed over the years. What are the detailed concepts around the principle? You need to develop yourself, not just because you could write 2 or 3 words in a brief and win the case. There will be the cases that will distinguish you as an advisor, the transactions that you will make your name on, or the disputes that will make you as a very good lawyer will most times depend on the principles and the way you have developed yourself over time in terms of those principles. So passionate about your own development, right? And both technical, social, and I'll come to the social component, but that passion has to be about your own development. And obviously, that development then helps you develop whatever your current task or your employment objectives are. Then being passionate in the right way, right? Some people think that being the loudest in the room or being seen to be passionate is really the right way to be passionate. Again, being passionate about the right way has to do with what is the objective of your being passionate, right? You're doing it for your own development. So being the loudest in the room really doesn't mean that you are the best. It's about output, it's about outcomes, it's about the value you're able to create as a result of your passion. It's about how you're able to resolve issues. It's about how you're able to bring solutions that are very, very profound. So being passionate about the right things and being passionate about the right things in the right way, very important. Now, grit. So the way I'll put this is you will put in a lot of hard work. You need to put in a lot of hard work. My dad, when I was much younger, my dad would tell me that one of the most important things that you must keep at the back of your mind is strive every time to know something about everything and to know everything about something. It might seem simple, but it's a very, very profound advice that you must take to heart. It's not enough that because you're a lawyer, the only things you must know is the legal implications or how these things that you're saying intersect with the law. Sometimes the practical realities interface with the law. And I'll give you, there's been instances where we've had very, very difficult, thorny legal issues that the only way we could resolve those issues was to chase the lawyers out, right? And in those days, I say I'm not a lawyer, right? And I'll then chase our advisors out, chase our dispute resolution specialist out, and I'll sit face to face with the person I have an issue with, and then we walk through the issue and resolve the issue. So sometimes understanding the practical realities of the issues, right? Learning a lot. And sometimes it can be engineering, sometimes it can be politics, sometimes it can be some very narrow thing. You need to be inquisitive. You need to learn everything you need to know about a topic that you have picked, and you need to widen the horizon of the things you know by making sure you try to learn something about everything. While I was reflecting just a couple of minutes before this call, I thought, okay, one practical example for me, and this just happened this morning. I was speaking to a mining expert, and we're arguing about an approach for him to take. He is a specialist, right? And was telling me from his technical perspective, right? And when I got off the call, between the time I had the call, I had the call when I was just getting into my car. And between the time I dropped the call and the time I got to my office, I had Googled maybe 9 different sites. I tried to read up on it. And by the time I called him back, we both could find a middle point, because just standing outside the issue and not understanding the issue because it's mining and it's not law doesn't kind of help you succeed as a business person. You have to, if you're into manufacturing, you have to understand the bolts and nuts of the equipment. So you have to understand the civil works component of it, not to become a civil works contractor, not to become an engineer, but enough for you to have an intelligent conversation that can lead to value creation, value optimization, and all of that. So you have to understand that your outlook cannot just be what are the legal implications, what does the law say, sometimes creating an atmosphere that fits into the law is your job, and that is your job for more time than it isn't. And the point I'm making is, if you have 100% of your time and you're trying to do business, or you're trying to be an executive, or you're in the business world, you will spend more time trying to fit your practical reality into the legal construct than trying to put the legal construct on your practical realities. Because the guys that are drafting the law are drafting boundaries. You need to understand what is the scope of the boundary as a lawyer, so you would know that. But in practical reality, you need to figure out how to fit your own business objectives within the practical reality. So understanding the business itself becomes very, very critical. So again, know something about everything and know everything about something. So when they tell you, they've done something that is 100 meters, you have to understand what the 100 meters is. If your business requires distances and stuff like that, you can't just be a lawyer and say, oh, I'm a lawyer, I don't understand. What does that mean? You have to learn about it. You have to get out of your comfort zone, know something about everything, know everything about something. So when you pick something and you're focused on it, you need to do a deep dive. You have to go below and below to understand the principles around it for you to be successful. Because if everybody is taking everything on the surface, then nobody will be a successful businessman, because the competition will be a level playing field, right? But what distinguishes a successful business executive from another is the depth, the grit, the depth of understanding of the issues, and the grit in terms of finding solutions. Tosin spoke about social quotient. I agree completely, and I'm not going to add anything to it. The only other point I want to make around social quotient is emotional intelligence is very, very important. You'll be dealing with people who already think that because you're a lawyer, you have a chip on your shoulder. I think for some reason, our predecessors in profession have created a reputation for us lawyers as being very proud. as feeling like we know everything. We call ourselves the learned one. So you will enter situations where your counterparties are not lawyers, but they already assume that you're a lawyer, you're proud. That's number one. Number two is they also assume that you're a lawyer, you don't know anything outside the law. So they'll assume that you don't know anything about calculation, you don't know anything about numbers, that once you get to numbers, you jump off the cliff. You can't be a successful businessman, or you can't be successful in business without having a very good understanding of numbers. After all, money is in numbers. Money is not a fictitious item. It's numbers. Networking is very important, right? You can't, I don't think it is possible in this world any longer to be successful in your cocoon. You can't lock yourself in a room or lock yourself in a place and assume that you'll be successful at least from a comparative perspective. So you need to network, you need to go out, you need to know people. You will solve more problems by the people that know you and that you have a relationship with than the people you are meeting on the same day. If you had exactly the same issue, it's usually easier to solve when you're talking to someone that knows you and that you know than someone you are meeting for the first time, right? Reputation, right? You have to stand for something, right? And let everybody know that's what you stand for. So you can't be a fair weather character, if they call it, if I could put it that way. People have to know that this is what they get when they're dealing with you. And I'm not going to say, oh, you have to stand for what is right. I'm going to say you have to stand for something, which is very important, right? Sometimes, right, this is me being blunt here, standing for what is wrong and let people know that you stand for what is wrong is sometimes better than people not knowing where you stand, right? So the first step is making people know where you stand. The second step is making sure that what you stand for is the right thing. But it's important that people know where you stand. You need to focus on solutions, not just being right. It's not important that you're right in business. It is important that you're successful, right? Ego is what drives people to think that they have to be right. You don't have to be right. You just have to be successful, right? So you need to drop your ego, be willing to hear, be willing to accommodate alternative views, be willing to understand that you are not necessarily the smartest in the room, and you have a lot to learn from people. In fact, if I tell you one of the most important qualities I think has helped me in being really successful is when people underestimate you, when people actually think you're stupid, or when people think that you don't have the grasp of the issue, or they don't. So not giving people ammunition before they come into a negotiation with you is very, very important. When people underestimate you, they think that you don't have what you have. That's fantastic. So don't let them be caught unawares, as against putting them in a position where they prepare too much for you, right? So being the loudest in the rooms doesn't help. Trying to lord it over people that you're intelligent or you're smarter than them doesn't help, right? Be yourself. Try to find solutions and move things up. I think for me, I will pause here. I think there is some 5-10 minutes that has been allowed for questions and answers. So maybe to make this a bit more interactive, I will pause here and then use maybe the next 9 to 10 minutes to answer questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moshood. That was a value-packed session. I couldn't get enough. How else do we say thank you? You mentioned that it is possible to be passionate about the right thing, but to be passionate about it the wrong way. Wow, never had that anyway before. I only just thought passion to drive you to that pinnacle that you were always looking for. And you also re-emphasize the point of understanding business. I think that's been the underlying, let's say, tone or theme so far, because we are speaking to lawyers and and it keeps coming up, understanding business, understanding business. I remember there was a transaction we were doing, particularly in Dealhq, about electricity. I barely knew the SI unit of electricity, and I had to, do some research and understand metric grids, mini grids, and all the kind of things. And I think that's very, very important in being a boardroom, in being a lawyer, in being a lawyer and an executive in the boardroom. Then you also specifically mentioned not being the loudest voice in the room. That hit me in some way, because I always thought, the loudest voices have the biggest attention. And you mentioned that even having people, underestimate you can give you some sort of advantage. So I couldn't just get enough. Thank you once again very much, sir. So we'll be opening the floor for questions and answers right now. Ask the chat box already, and I will just I think I think I have a question from the Honorable Justice. Honorable Justice, sir, you may go ahead and ask your question, sir.
Okay, it's just a contribution. Thank you very much, Shud. Because when you said know something about everything and that you traced it to your dad, my dad told me exactly the same thing. He used to say read everything, whether it's on medicine, lecture, engineering, and as you grow in your profession, you find every single thing you have read extremely useful. So my dad and yours were thinking in the same direction. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Justice. Really appreciate your contribution so far. So I think I have a question from Deborah Eniaikon. I'll read it right now. So he said, thank you for the session, sir. You mentioned that it's better to be underestimated than overestimated, and also about avoiding being the loudest in the room. I'm curious, how does one find the balance between not being the loudest, yet remaining visible and engaged without appearing nonchalant or disengaged? I want to know if you understood the question, sir, Mr. Moshuta.
I do understand the question. Okay, so I think again, it's a balance that you need to keep at the back of your mind, right? Not being the loudest in the room allows room for reflection. It allows you to be very, very deliberate in what you say. It also allows you to be measured, right? So whenever you are then asked to contribute, or whenever you have an opinion, right, people will listen to it because you are not trying to hijack the session. So being quiet or being disengaged is you don't have anything to say, you're not probably in the room. I'm not saying you shouldn't contribute. I'm not saying you shouldn't ask to contribute. I'm saying be thoughtful about that process. Don't get into a meeting thinking that you have to talk when you don't have anything useful to say. Be measured in your tone. Don't be offensive. You don't have to talk to demonstrate that you are intelligent, right? Just say what you want to say, and people will figure out whether you're intelligent from what you have said and what you haven't said. So that's the point. So it's a balance, right? You don't want to work in a place, whether it's a law firm, whether it's in a business world, where people think that you don't have anything important to contribute, or where your contribution is completely useless. It's a balance. But I don't want in the case of this is not possible, this cannot work. No, right? It's just being loud and being offensive doesn't quite help anybody. Being measured, being thoughtful, being very processing what you're saying becomes very, very critical. So it's a balance. I do appreciate that, but it's a balance that you need to be very, very conscious of.
Very much, Mr. Moshu. Deborah, I hope we were able to answer your question to and meet your expectations of an answer. So I have this question from Prosper will probably. So he is saying rather, thank you so much for the session, sir. How has your background in law shaped or impacted your career as a boardroom executive? So I believe he's asking if your background in law has given some kind of advantage that an ordinary executive would not necessarily have, Mr. Moshood, sir.
So, and what I'm about to say here might shock you, but at the end of the day, what you studied in school or what you have acquired in terms of educational background is more important to developing your character, developing your exposure, developing your horizon, than in actual advancement of your career within the business world. Go and check the most successful businessmen. Do you know what Dangote studied in school? I think he studied Islamic studies or something like that. I don't know. Nothing that has to do with manufacturing, nothing that has to do with trading. So that's the first point I want to make, that what you've studied in school is very important from a development of your mental capacity, a development of your horizon, your exposure, your networking, and stuff like that, right? That school knowledge is more important for those purposes than for the. I mean, if you look at, for example, in PwC is an accounting firm by reputation. There are probably about 40 partners in PwC Nigeria today. Maybe less than 5 of them are actually accountants that studied accounting in school, right? So that's the first point. The second point is, to the extent that you um, you developed yourself with your career as a lawyer, it would have an important impact on your ability to succeed in the business world. Because if you developed yourself as a lawyer, you would have understood some of the principles that affect the business world, right? Because some, particularly in corporate commercial law, right, most of the principles that you would encounter, the rule in Force and Arbotu, the rule in all of these places, if you understand the principles very well, then you can apply it very, very well in the business world. So guys that understand company law, company principles, and things like that are usually very, very good for transactions, mergers and acquisitions in the corporate world, or how to acquire a company, or how to get an uplift from a transaction that ordinary people who don't have those details will know. So there's some advantage specifically related to law, but it's a second layer advantage. The base layer advantage is how you have developed yourselves.
Sorry for the interruption, Mr. Moshood. Please, you can continue, please. I think somebody's bummed.
No. I'm done. I'm saying yes.
Done.
Your background as a lawyer will give you an advantage if you have actually developed yourself very well as a lawyer, right? The most important part of your training in university is to expand your horizon, is to teach you how to think, not so much as cramming the law, but to teach you how to think, how to engage with people, to improve your exposure, improve your social skills. Those are the most critical things you need to take out of the university. The reality in the world of today is what you studied in the university is not uh, is not by itself a determinant of how you will be successful in the business world. It is what you gained from what you've studied, together with how you have developed it after you left university, that really determines how you're successful in life. I don't know if this is useful, but that's my experience.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moshood. This has been very, very impactful, value-driven, and very insightful. I've been enjoying so far the sessions from Mr. Jose, and now down to your session. We have some other questions, but we don't really have the time to take them right now. Perhaps we could take them in the next Q&A session that will be opening after we bring our next speaker to the floor. So for our next speaker, we would be taking us on what it takes to sit on a bench we have I'm delighted and very honored to introduce Honorable Justice Rahman Oshodi. Honorable Justice Oshodi started his career at Dealhq Lagos in 2007. He joined Strachan Partners as an associate in 2008, where he worked closely with CA candidate Johnson, SAN. He rose to the position of managing associate, a position he held from 2013 to 2015. He joined Bawan Ighodalo and rose to become senior associate in the litigation and ADR practice group in 2015, where he worked closely with Abin Bola at Peridolu, SAN. He has appeared in numerous proceedings for his bureau, superior courts, local and international dispute resolution centers representing a wide spectrum of clients ranging from local and international multi-million-dollar businesses to different government departments, and has also published numerous law articles. Right now, Honorable Justice Oshodi sits on a bench at the Lagos State High Court and presides over numerous cases where he illustrates a balance between punitive justice and a consideration for rehabilitation. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome with me Honorable Justice Rahman Oshodi, Judge of the Lagos State High Court. My lord, sir, you can have the floor, sir.
Yes, good morning, everyone. I must start by thanking the organizers of this program. It's important because these days that appear in court, the standard has significantly dropped, and that's a problem. And every time you wonder who is training these lawyers, no more ethics at the bar, armed submission, they've lost all of that. And most of the senior lawyers are not helping matters because they are not training the younger ones. So it's important that this platform begin to develop. And I continue to agree with the last speaker, Mr. Olajide. Your education will improve upon your character, and that's what's going to develop you. Anyway, for those of you who want to sit on the bench, we have the High Court bench, we have the magistracy, and which I will summarize as the judicial pathway. And I'm going to share my experience in the criminal division with you. I'm also going to share experiences. Recently, we had a training and a retreat. I've been with JSP, also was one of the justices of the Supreme Court. He also shared his experience. And we continue to train ourselves to be better judges. And I'm going to discuss all of that in the course of this 25-minute talk. Now, as a law student and as a lawyer, whenever I hear that Judiciary represents the last hope of common man, I was happy with that pronouncement. But now, as a judge, and I hear Judiciary is the last hope of the common man, it's a burden. The work we do, the privilege, yes, but we also carry a crushing burden every single day. I will say more about that. But let me start with what the former Chief Justice of Nigeria, Honorable Justice Dealhq Mustafa noted. That was in 2011. And he said, we fully appreciate that the success or failure of our young democracy, then democracy was young, largely depends on our judicial system. That's another burden that we carry. So our burden extends beyond application of legal principles. It goes to the extent of preserving the constitutional order and the rule of law. It's a big responsibility. As students and young lawyers, you need to decide, do you want to come to this side or do you want to stay there? Because every day of our lives we carry a burden. Let me explain why. Beginning with the nature of judicial office. Once you decide to go to the bench, the moment you take the oath of office, there is transformation of your relationship with society. You are no longer the same. Yes, there's a sense of you are sitting while others will stand. You are presiding while others will participate. I mean, those things would is attached to the work. But the moment you take argument and it's time for decision making, you're on your own. Nobody is going to teach you your job. You know, when I was first appointed and I had a meeting with the Honorable Chief Judge, and he said, yes, I'm not going to interfere with your work. Every decision you take is your responsibility. And I've sat in the criminal division for about 5 years, no single interference or even advice or suggestion regarding how I do my work by the Honorable Chief Judge. Now, as the difference with legal practitioners, and in most times they work in teams, you know, we had the experience, I had my own experience in the past. You know, you have a team lead. When there's a mistake, sometimes the team leaders will blame the senior. I mean, the team lead gives an instruction, the partner gives an instruction. You carry out the instruction, it turns out to be a mess. But the partner will hide in the corner and say, oh, the junior did not do it well. You know, when you begin to practice, you see all of this. But as a judge, you are accountable for your decisions. Every single decision you take. If it is typographical error from your secretary, it's your responsibility. Every judgment becomes part of the permanent legal record. As we speak, the decisions of our magistrates, particularly the small claims court, they are reported online. All of this contributes to the development of the jurisprudence for generations to come. Unlike legal practice, where you can consult, talk to your colleagues, here you're on your own. And you know, instances where you have to discuss one or two things with your colleagues. Firstly, the rule is that you don't even tell them the subject of the case, the parties involved, because you must not disclose. And what you see is that they have their own problems to deal with. And so they won't appreciate the fact of the case as much as you do. Then again, when it comes to discretionary matters, one person's opinion may be different from another person. In summary, every single thing you do, your sole responsibility. In achieving this responsibility, I take the words of Socrates, the Greek philosopher, when he described the judicial officer in 4 ways. He says you must hear courteously, must answer wisely, you must consider soberly, and decide impartially. I'll talk about these principles as I speak. But the most important thing, the honorable judge must be courteous. I was supposed to join this program at 10 o'clock, and I had vacated all the cases for today. I pushed the matters to 1 o'clock. But at 9 o'clock, some lawyers were in court. Perhaps they didn't get the notice on time. And I saw that they were in court. I had to go to take their cases. The lawyers must not sit and wait. That's the minimum responsibility required of every judge. Now to the reality of judicial office. Once you decide you want to take that office, you have to be prepared to make personal sacrifice. Drawing from my own experience, I transitioned from private practice at Bawa and Budalo to the bench. I was doing commercial law. I represented fine commercial districts. First day I was to take, even my chambers and staff, even though I did a bit of criminal law, it was a criminal division. I couldn't say no. I inherited the court with approximately 930 cases, criminal cases. I had to start. But today I'm happy I have approximately 416, even though more cases we assigned the court. So that's the responsibility. And it also shows that Olajide said this, Mr. Olajide said this, and I agree. Even in law, you read every area of law, you do not know. I've been in the federal high court, I've been doing more of maritime. I've been doing more of interpretation of karma. Now we have land division. Tomorrow I will be taken to the commercial division. It's what I studied in the university, all through my experience, to my master's. I find extremely useful to today. Our lives are under constant scrutiny. We are not merely judges from 9 o'clock to 4 o'clock. We are judges for 24 hours a day. Every single second we are judged. And it affects our private life when we sit on the bench. So you must decide clearly whether you want to take this job. I'll give you an example. It's all over the media. In October 2024, a long-serving magistrate, UK, received a warning for misusing a judicial status. What happened? He had arguments with her neighbor over a dog, the neighbor's dog. But in the course of the argument, he has stated that because she was a magistrate, that under the law, the dog could be destroyed. You know, he just made those statements, all argument. But guess what? He was given a warning because it was considered as misconduct. Therefore, we must maintain dignity and standing and good reputation at all times. So whether we are at home, we are on the road, we must maintain that standard. This case I've just given to you, it demonstrates that the legality of the judge's conduct is not measured by, is not the measure of its propriety, but the standard is whether reasonable, fair-minded, and informed members of the community would view the conduct as maintaining the dignity and integrity expected of the judicial officer. Let me quickly speak about qualities for those who want to become judges. The first quality, Mr. Lagide mentioned it, and I also agree with him 100%. Becoming a judge is not a retirement option for lawyers. It requires continuous learning, exceptional intellectual capacity, and a commitment to lifelong learning. You do not stop with law school. You continue to learn other areas of law. I mean, you wake up one morning and they put you on an election petition. That may not be the area of law you think you find interesting. So you have to read the books and get prepared. Now there is technological advancement. I mean, I remember some time ago, I think in Canada, the magistrate had ordered service via Instagram. Another judge in another country had said thumbs up was as good as accepting a contract. But they understood this process, they understood this social media platform, and so they could decide that way. With this technological advantage, so the judge must continue to develop because lawyers are more and more demanding more of us. And now our rules even allow that you send via WhatsApp. So we must continue to develop ourselves every day. Character and moral uprightness. Judiciary demands not merely good judges, but good persons. You must develop your character. I'm sure there's news all over the social media about farm 1, farm 2. Yes, it could happen to anybody, and everybody says, well, you criticize, you want to sanction, you sanction. It could happen to a judge, the judge will be removed from office. A clear case of misconduct, not in the course of doing your work. And so the judge must be extremely careful, your character must be, and about personal experiences. Go to the airport, you are traveling, and the security personnel push you around. Do not say anything. You must comply. You cannot even say I'm a judge. And so the experiences of art, it passed through all the necessary checks. Even when you look sideways, you see politicians with all of their office, you just have to comply. Protocol will only do the necessary things they must do, but you must not be seen by passing necessary protocols. You must comply with every law and regulation of the system. Now, another aspect, you must demonstrate empathy, demonstrate patience while under pressure. I'm doing vacation duty. There's a lot of cases coming. And so do not talk down on lawyers. And I think Mr. Lagby also mentioned emotional intelligence. I'll get there. And so all of this you are expected to do not while you sit as a judicial officer, but also while you are doing your normal activity. You are driving. I mean, there was a certain Saturday I had to take my wife to the mall, and this policeman stopped us, and it was not my car, it was my wife's car, and they asked for the driver's license. Apparently, I had duplicated copies of my license. I put it in all the vehicles in the house, but I had to look for it. We spent approximately 10 minutes. Eventually, I found it and I gave it to them. I did not introduce myself as a judge. I complied with the protocol. I did not shout at the personnel. They were all patient. Then I showed them the license. They allowed me to pass. Now the pathway to judicial office. Yes, I think you will learn in law school if you want to become a judge what you must do. 10 years post call, then you must have experience and all of that. Then you must have the judges who would recommend you. But apart from that, the requirements are increasingly becoming more difficult. I think recently the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Honorable Chief Justice of Nigeria, also now said they would publicize the name and ask and give a number of days for the public to give their reaction to the character of that individual. If you have been arguing with your neighbor or parking where you are not supposed to, anybody may write a petition prior to the appointment stating that they cannot attest to your good character, and that usually will be investigated, and then that alone may cost you your appointment. And now they are requiring additional requirements. If you have a master's degree, we have judges who are professors, we have judges who are doctors, and we even have, I think, one or two senior advocates who are judges. So the more qualifications you have, more advantage you have. It was when I wrote my first exam to the bench, I realized that even when you have publication, they give it scores. Your affiliation with the Nigerian Bar Association, they did give it scores. You have given presentation. They grade you on every single document you have. You have judgments of the High Court, Court of Appeal, Supreme Court. All of that will help. And if you have been doing all of this over the years, you realize how important if you have a master's degree, it will also assist. Then we also have, I think the exams right now, we have computer-based exams. I know most of the younger ones know this, but some of the much older ones may not. But now they require you to write computer-based tests, which is also outside the traditional rule, but now important because the judge should be able to write his decision himself. Live on the bench, my experience in the criminal division provides particular insight into challenges and rewards of the specialized court that I sit in. Criminal law presents unique demands. You must balance the state's procedural power against the individual rights, and you must maintain public confidence in the administration of justice. Emotional toll of the criminal court, a lot. Cases involving, I also sit in the sexual offenses court, sexual and gender-based violence, serious fraud, violent crime. They will all expose the judge to the darkest aspects of human behavior. And of course, we have access to therapy from time to time, even though I have not gone through anyone. Because what I do is when I hear this evidence, you do not discuss it with anyone, even your closest people, because the case is ongoing. So what I do is consistently put my thoughts in writing. Then I'm about to present papers for UNICEF and so many other organizations, particularly after you've concluded the case. So when I express myself, when I say all of this presentation, the way of that's my own personal therapy. And so you must be able to, but I think a few would go for the counseling session because once you hear this evidence, I do not want to say that here because it's a lot of horrible things. horrible things happen in this country every single day. So you must manage your emotions. You must also deliver reasons and good judgment. Well, for the judge, there are procedural issues, there are substantive issues, but what you must do at the end and at the point of giving your verdict, you must ensure that you are right because the precedent. We have the appellate court that will supervise the decision. When you are wrong, they correct you, but you must ensure and strive to be right. And you must also communicate the decision properly so that there will be no troubled interpretation and ambiguity in whatever you decide. You must also ensure fair trials while maintaining court decorum. In other words, you give party A, who probably is a senior advocate, 20 minutes to address the court. The counterparty is especially a young lawyer. You also give him as much time to address the court. You must ensure fair trials all the time. The rewards and responsibilities of judicial service. Yes, if you must decide to go to the bench, it is not about the reward, but most importantly, the opportunity to contribute directly to justice delivery and development of legal principles. Every judgment contributes to the legal precedent and they affect the development of the society and they stay for generations. I'm sure in school you have cases of 18, you've heard of Lord Denning, Acting, and all of these laws. They wrote these decisions several years ago and we are still using them today. That should be the desire, for anyone who wants to go to the bench, legal education and development of the law. Judges in this country are on the same salary for approximately between 2007 to 2015, the same income. And so, but what should be the driving force? The desire to develop the law. You must have high ethical standards, and you must also show wisdom in your judgment, which is also very, very important. To prepare yourself as a judge, you must have the basic foundation. In fact, I must say, every single subject in the university is important. Every single course in law school is extremely important, from constitutional law, fundamental rights, criminal law and procedure. Most vital for trial judges or trial magistrates is evidence law. You must like it, you must know it, you must understand it. If you don't like evidence, then forget about on the bench. Every single day is evidence. You must enjoy writing, in this case, legal writing. And you must also like jurisprudence, because jurisprudence is the idea of the law. It shows you the basis, how the law develops, and the idea behind every single legal principle. You must develop a good writing habit. And of course, if you do not read, you cannot write. And so you must also write clearly. I said that before. Every judgment requires careful construction. Before I started to sit on the bench, apart from the courses taken at the National Judicial Institute, these days you can go online. I took courses. I took approximately 100 hours on judgment writing from South Africa to India, the United Kingdom, the United States, over 100 hours on judgment writing. After comparing all of that, it took a long time, and I decided how I would generate my own template. And so, as judges, they continue to receive training on judgment writing, which is an important part of our legal education. If you want to become a judge, during your holidays, we use some to play, then try to attach yourself to court or legal law offices. Continue to learn, over the years. That way, some of these principles become a part of you. So you must continue to learn, and you must also improve on your character. All of these are important. I've also discussed the challenges, face a lot of significant challenges. We have case backlogs, too many cases. I gave my example, over 900 cases. Criminal, eh, I was in a commercial law firm, so I had to read all the case files. I had to learn additional things, and so okay, we also have problem of infrastructure and all of that, which we know, but I mean, we are trying to ensure that we have good infrastructure so that we can deliver justice, particularly in Lagos State, appropriately. And we had the problem of the NSAS, maybe we have to use temporary locations, all of that inconvenience. I mean, for um, um, private practice, can always get a better location, but some of these challenges are tied to government budget and spending. If something is not in the budget for the year, you cannot say you want to buy it. And so before the end of every year, you have to present the budget to the House of Assembly for approval and all of these challenges. And so you need something urgently. Don't just go as the judiciary to buy it in the market. You need to there are so many procedures which sometimes is quite frustrating. And now we are thinking of specialized divisions. We've applied it in Lagos, and then some states are followed. And so in Lagos, we have several specialized divisions. We have the fast track, we have the which is a part of the commercial. Even the criminal division, we have to subdivide it into three. General criminal division, they deal with armed robbery and other cases, cultism. If he has any element of sexual crime, then he goes to the sexual offences court. And we have the special offences court for financial crime. It requires, and that has also helped significantly because we deal with the same thing all of the time. Then you also receive specialized training. That way ensures you get it right all the time. But then again, spend 4 years in one division, then you are taken to land division. From land division, you can be taken to general civil, where the chieftaincy matters and all of that. And so you should be prepared to learn new things, because once you move from one division to another division, then you have to start learning the basic principles in that division all over again. Professional conduct and ethical obligation, I think I've said that before. But what is concerning to me is that we have quite a number of lawyers facing criminal charges in court. If the lawyers comply with their rules of professional conduct, they won't find themselves in such situation. It's very disturbing. One was convicted, not in my court, but before the High Court of Lagos State, I think a few weeks ago. If a lawyer takes a client's money, you put it in client's account. Rules of professional conduct tells you everything you must do as a legal practitioner. If you comply with the rules of professional conduct, you'll never get it wrong as a legal practitioner. When you come to this side, then you have the code of conduct for judicial officers. If you're able to get the first part correctly, then no doubt the second part of code of conduct will be easy for you to comply. Then you must also build a good professional reputation. You have to develop your expertise. And you need to write. I need to say this, so many, I mentioned Farm 1, Farm 2, and the legal mind shouldn't be in the social media discussing all of these issues without any scholarly background. The only publication I've read regarding this is the one published in Dealhq. I mean, the writer went to town, explained international treaties, explained regulations, explained the laws. That way, begin to appreciate things better. The lawyer should not be found in the social media discussing people who are saying, well, if it had happened in the US, this would have happened. That's not, I mean, you should direct your mind to writing. And so if a lawyer feels something is wrong and there's a matter of public interest, what you must do is to respect that topic, like this the law writer, publisher did. Respect the topic. You can do a comparative analysis, look at different jurisdictions, like the Disney law publication did. It's all over the social media. Then you put up your own writing. If you see a judgment of the court you do not like, rather than say, those judges took money, what you must do, get a certified copy of that decision read it, apply it, then also discuss it in a professional way. So I see young students writing articles on LinkedIn. I read some of these articles and I find it extremely interesting. And so that's the way to express your either to protest against a decision you do not like, express your views about an important bigger subject rather than stay on social media discussing with people who are not learned. And that's the distinction between a learned person and one who is not learned. Well, I might be running out of time, but I'll run to my conclusion quickly so that I do not extend beyond the time allocated. I must say that judicial appointment represents a lifetime commitment to public service with significant personal sacrifices. It's a lifetime commitment. If you think in your family you're on the lineage to become the king or to become the any traditional appointment, do not come to the bench. On the one hand, you are going to your community to struggle for traditional appointment. Stay with your legal practice. When the time comes, be accepted. If you know you're a trustee to an estate, maybe your dad's estate and they have been managing and it's a multi-billion naira or dollar estate, they are making a lot of money from it. Don't come to the bench because once you take that job, you must resign. Every single thing you must be accounted for. If you know you like the social media, you like to travel, take pictures of yourself, and that's good for you. You can make money from that. Don't come to the bench because once you start, you cannot do that again. I had to travel recently for a period of approximately 2 weeks. The requirement now is to write to the Chief Justice of Nigeria and get, even for medicals, His Lordship's approval in writing before you can leave. So you must be dedicated, you must decide how you want to go about it. And a good way is to say, let me stay in private practice, or let me do what Mr. Olagide is doing, become a CEO, then take all of those appointments and you can make as much money as you want. But the moment you take this work, you can't do that anymore. Your life will be restricted. And because of that, you cannot go to certain places. Some of us feel quite emotional about it, but we have decided to take it. So if you think you are sociable, you like to attend parties, you like to dance like a governor in one of the states, don't take the judicial office. Even if they offer it to you on the platter, do not take it. The decision to seek judicial office should be made with a complete understanding of these demands and genuine commitment to public service. I'll now conclude. The career, what we do as judges, represents one of the highest form of public service available in a democratic setting. It gives us the opportunity to shape a legal development, to ensure constitutional governance, and protect individual rights against arbitrary power. However, demand the highest standards of personal conduct, intellectual rigor, and moral courage. For those amongst you who feel called to judicial service, the preparation must begin now through academic excellence. You must continue to develop your character. You must have practical experience. The judiciary, the people we need lawyers who understand that justice is not a commodity to be traded, but a sacred trust to preserve and protect the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So no corruption. If money enters your bank account, you cannot justify it and you'll be sanctioned. And if you acquire an asset, you cannot trace the source of that asset, you'll be sanctioned. You cannot even maintain a foreign bank account, you'll be sanctioned. So you have to be careful before you decide to take the job. Now, your generation, you have an opportunity to transform Nigeria's judiciary into a truly world-class institution capable of meeting the challenges of the 21st century. The question that each of you must answer whether you are prepared to make the sacrifices necessary to answer this call to service. If you choose to dedicate your career to the service of justice, whether on the bench or in legal capacity, then you join the noble tradition. Indeed, it's a noble tradition across whether the bench or private practice. I'm happy to have discussed all of this with you. And let me end by saying the future of our democracy, as the former TGN said, and I repeat, the future of our democracy depends not in no small measure on the choices you make and the standards you maintain throughout your professional lives. May your legal careers bring you great satisfaction, fulfillment, and the opportunity to serve justice with distinction. Thank you very much, and I hope I've not exceeded the time.
Thank you very much, my lord, sir. I particularly was just sort of with all that you said. I particularly took an interest in the fact that some behind the scenes activities of judges like yourself was unveiled. I really didn't. I've never really thought about it that way, but the fact that decision making moments are done just on your own and that you can't consult another person, I found it very, very interesting. Thank you very much once again, sir, for your session. Um, we we are constrained for time, so we'll just take one or two questions. I saw somebody raise up their hands just now. Please, can you post your questions on the group chat? So we have one question here from a Madwikin Noma. Sorry if I mispronounced your name, Honorable Justice, sir. The question says, thank you very much, Honorable Justice Raman Oshodi, for this amazing session. I'm a young law student. I have made this, you have successfully made the concept of being a judge very enticing. However, is there a chance that we might get shorter judgment documents in the future? I really I can't seem to understand the perspective our student is asking from, but maybe he means can we write shorter judgments in the future? Or I really can't speak to that, sir, but I don't know if you have a better understanding of that. So let me just say.
Well, yes, it's all about the judicial writing, communicating effectively. And so once you can, if you are a good writer, then you'll be able to produce a judgment shorter, yes, and appealing to the public to read. Also, there's a jurisprudence, there's a theory going on now regarding the length of, the use of Latin accent, as much as possible. The judgment must be understood by the public. And when I write my decisions, I ensure that I do that. Yes, so I don't know whether it's the length or clarity, but yes, indeed, something we keep training judges on this thing so that judgment will be fairer, will be shorter, and will be easier for members of the public who are non-lawyers to understand and appreciate. Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Justice. I think that's the only question we have in the chat box for now. I noticed some of our participants raising up their hands to ask questions, but please, if you have questions, I'm repeating it again, just post it on group chat. We might not have the time and chance to listen to you ask your questions. Thank you very much, Honorable Justice. It was a really insightful session. We really hope that our participants have gotten better sense of direction as to how they can direct their paths in becoming a judge or a judicial officer. So without further ado, we'll proceed to our next speaker and our next session. for today. So next on our agenda is our speaker, Mr. Joshua Daranijo. Mr. Joshua Daranijo is a distinguished lawyer and arbitrator. He is the co-founder of Allen and Overy, a general practice firm in Lagos. Mr. Daranijo led the tech innovation team as a prominent startup advisory firm where he was instrumental in driving strategic growth and digital transformation. His career also includes impactful contributions at renowned institutions such as Unilever, Business Law Academy, and Dealhq partners. He provides strategic counsel to major domestic and international councils such as Comfort Health Lloyd and AfriFresh Incorporated on market entry and corporate structuring efforts. I'm sorry I missed the designation. Mr. Joshua Daranijo is the managing partner of Allen and Brooks. Mr. Joshua Daranijo, the floor is open to you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Mm. Mm.
You know there.
Hi, good morning, everyone. How are you? Sorry for the delay. I was trying to join, but I'm not sure what happened to the network. I couldn't hear myself also. Can you hear me clearly, please? Can you confirm you can hear me clearly? Can I?
Yes, sir.
Hello? You can hear me clearly, right?
Yes.
Right. So
Mr. Joshua,
I'm
we
having
can hear
issues
you
with my
clearly,
network.
sir.
So I will have to use my phone. I was trying to use my laptop, but unfortunately, I'm having some network issues. Okay. So if you can hear me clearly, let me go ahead and just start. Thank you so much for
Yes,
correcting
we can hear
yourself.
you clearly.
As much as I appreciate the opportunity to be associated with global law firms, I started my own in hopes to reach that level. So I am a team member of Allen and Brooks and not Allen and Overy. So we are hopeful that by God's grace we'll reach that level where we are, able to stand in the same, conversations with global law firms like that one. Okay, thank you so much for that introduction. So I have listened to the previous speakers and I feel very under prepared for this conversation because hearing from my lord and even Mrs. Ajose and Mr. Olajide, I think there's a lot that has been said already. But I'll focus on the theme for my own session, the untold truths of building your own law firm. Let me start by just saying this. I used to work with Mrs. Ajose. So if you missed that during my profile, I was one of the first set of people that Dealhq as an associate with Mrs. Ajose, Mrs. A as she's fondly called. And I think I'll start on that note to say that it's very important that you build good relationships when you start out your career. Because if I do not build a good relationship with Mrs. Ajose, I'm very sure I would not be getting this opportunity today. So thank you very much, Mrs. Ajose, for the opportunity. And I'm also grateful for the opportunity to also share with the younger ones what my experience is like. I'm going to just stick to three C's today. I think that's how I prefer to teach, or should I say present. I'm going to use three C's to describe the truths or the untold truths of running your own law firm. Allen and Brooks turned 5, I think just 2 weeks ago. Yeah, 2 weeks ago. We turned 5 roughly 2 weeks ago. So we started this in the middle of the pandemic back in 2020. I just resigned from Dealhq Partners, and then we launched in August 2020. One of the first things I would take note of is the fact that in life, many people can come up with beautiful ideas. A lot of people are innovators, but not many people are executors. Yes, I know it sounds like aspire to perspire, but just take note of that statement. It's one thing to ideate and think of ideas and innovative ideas, but another thing to execute. So what will always stand out, the intentional businessman or the one who is building something, whether it's a vision or a project, is the one who has left it, from the step of vision to execution. And it's a big problem with many of us. You know that feeling you get where you realize that there's this thing you wanted to do, but you now saw that somebody else is doing it. Maybe down the line, years to come, and you notice that somebody else is doing it. It's not just you that it happens to. It happens to them. So they come up with an idea, it just pops in their head and like, okay, sounds cute, sounds like a great idea, but they never execute it, and then that's the end of it. Until they see someone else doing it and they're like, wow, so you think I thought about this idea? If you think of an idea and you think it's such a great idea that would help the world or help people around you in solving a problem, take it from innovation to execution, or take it from ideation to execution, because really innovation is really about executing your ideas. That being said, the first C is competence. Competence. The reason why I was so confident enough to leave where I was, a comfortable employment, by the way, and then say I want to run my own law firm is because I felt I was competent enough. We are not saying it enough to people of our generation. It's not enough to have passion, just like Mr. Olajide said earlier. It is important that your passion is meaningful. So passion will not pay the bills, and I'll come back to that later. So to say that the reason why you want to go ahead and set up your own practice is because you are passionate about law, you might fail within the first few years. Are you competent enough? Are you capable? And when talking about competence, you have to address both technical and business competence. It's one thing to be a great lawyer, it's another thing to be a great business person. It's many things. It's something I tell a lot of my clients. Because you're a great lawyer does not mean you're a great business person. So you have clients who come to you with problems and you realize this is not really a technical or professional problem. It's a business problem. Talking about other professions now or other clients I deal with. So business competence is another thing you need to address. But you first of all have to see that you have built a habit of competence. I can speak for myself, if I can speak for Mr. Joseph, but I can speak for her to an extent. She was very, very impressed with my work over the years before I left. She could trust me with some projects to handle by myself. She did not even need to have anyone supervise my work. That was the level of work I had built. And she was like, this guy is good. Even when I had to go, she was like, we'll miss you. Not many people have that testimony. Some people you are living there like, thank God, I don't have to sack you. So competence is very important. You must stand out in a way that people genuinely know you are a value add to the team. When you have addressed the issue of competence, you can move on to the next stage. Talk about collaboration. Many people don't address collaboration. Many people don't address collaboration very well, but that in itself has been one of the biggest issues people face. A lot of people don't understand that collaboration goes beyond just, should we say, being a team player. It's going to see how you can share a vision with someone. Let me get practical. When I launched my law firm back in
So I think our speaker is having some issues with his network. I just wanted okay, he's back right now. Mr. Joshua, are you on the call, sir?
Yes, apologies. Yes, apologies. A call came in, so I need to address
Alright.
that to ensure
Okay,
that
no
doesn't
problem,
happen
sir.
again. Yes.
Alright, sir.
So as I was saying, when we launched our firm back in 2020, it did not bother me to have business partners. So I started out the firm with 3 business partners. Over the years, we have become 2 for personal reasons. But it wasn't a question of can I do it alone? No, it was about can I handle the magnitude of what you wanted to achieve on my own. Collaboration is very important, especially when you are dealing with big projects. Each member of the team can break it down. It's okay for you to be a visionary or to be the visionary. What is important is you being humble and what's the opposite of myopic? Should we say um, focused enough or far thinking enough to see that there's a bigger picture beyond what you particularly would prefer. When you are bringing more people in, you have to accommodate their own ideas, accommodate their own style of business or leadership, and then you come together and form a synergy. That was the first task, being able to have a successful collaborative effort. And I'll just say this to give context. 1% of $1 billion business will always be better than 90% of $1 million business. If people can start telling you, okay, because people mentioned it, and I'll be honest with you, a lot of people came around. Are you sure it's a good idea to partner with this person? Are you sure you guys can work together? Oh, can you? Are you okay with them having shares in the company? Are you? See, it's not as long as there's trust. All that is behind you. What matters is collaboratively working to achieve a goal. If you want to be single-minded about it, then you're carrying all the efforts on your own. When you bring people together and you partner together, the beautiful thing about it is everyone focuses on their strengths, everyone focuses and helps each other with their weaknesses, and that way you're able to grow a business faster. I can categorically say it. If I did not have a business partner, Allen & Brooks would not be where it is today. We are set up in Ikoyi. We have a team strength of about 15 people across 3 different states with the office in Lagos. It is only possible because 2 or more people came together and said, let us achieve something. If I was doing it on my own, I might have been limited by my own capacity, limited by my own vision. But more people come together and expanded the vision. So collaboration is very important. The same thing applies to business and looking for work or business development, I meant to say. Even how you approach business development, you must be smart enough to know that it's okay to share the pie. We have an incentive culture in our firm. Associates are encouraged to find work and they get a piece of the pie. As an associate of my firm, you can take as high as 20 to 30% on the transaction you bring in. That's another motivation to look for work. It's also another way to collaborate, another way to give people an ownership mentality. So people must always understand that there's importance in collaboration. It's not even something you can joke with. If you don't know how to collaborate, you might go far. I mean, your passion, your competence, and all that can take you far. But I'm not sure you go as far as 2 or 3 people coming together to achieve something. The last one is capital. And this is one I'm going to take some time on before I now address some stories. I'll give you some practical stories. When we started Allen & Brooks, there were 3, right? We became 2 over the years. And we started with personal capital. Now, one thing most people don't know on the outside is this. The firm has grown specifically because the partners of the firm put the firm first above personal gain. How do I mean? My business partner and I, Mobolaji, have not earned a salary since year 1. What we earn is commission on work done. It means if we don't bring in work, we don't take a commission. So there are months that we didn't bring in work and we just both be out there, in quote, hustling for briefs, putting in the work to find new work. That's simple. We could have said, man must survive. Let's put ourselves on, even if it's as meager as possible and in a ridiculous amount just to hold, body and soul together in quote. If we had done that, maybe we would not be where we are today. Maybe the firm would have crashed along the line or would have struggled to keep this momentum. Sacrifices have to be made. And this issue of capital is one many people don't tell you about. But let nobody deceive you. law business, because the business of running a law firm, aside being a lawyer, practicing as a lawyer, the business of running a law firm is not cheap. We are, I won't say hoodwinked, but we are, I'm using the right word, I must be careful with my words. We are lawyers, and this is a profession that is noble. So we are constrained by our profession to approach business development from a different angle. By the rules of our RPC and the rules of our profession, naturally, you don't go around touting for work. There's an approach you take, there's a manner in which you approach telling people about yourself. That is not easy, that is not cheap, it's capital intensive. Whether it's, registering for, international events, registering to, attend conferences where you can get to meet people. All these are things that you pour in a lot of money into, and some of them don't yield immediate fruits, but over time, you see the reward of it. What am I trying to point out? Please don't be fooled by any story out there that people tell you. I remember, I think it was either Femi Banwo, Mr. Femi Banwo, or that's with Godalo, telling a story of how there was one day when he just said Bawani Godalo, he literally drove down to his parents' place in Ibadan. He woke up that morning and he was fed up, and he drove from Lagos to Ibadan before subconsciously realizing that he had gotten to his parents' house, greeted them, and then tried to make it a refreshing day. I laughed at that story because I read up a lot of stories and watch a lot of videos from mentors and people that have come before us. That's another thing that's very important. If you want to do something like this, always have people you can talk to that have done it before you. But that story resonated with me. I also grew up in Ibadan. My friends are based in Ibadan. There have been days where I won't say I drove down, but I'll just find myself saying, Olaji, I'll see you over the weekend. I will leave on Friday. I'll not come back to Lagos till Monday. I'll just go to Ibadan and express, some level of, I don't know if you'll call it just relaxation and just say, what, let me remember what home feels like, my safe space. And then, enjoy the quietness of Ibadan compared to Lagos. And I'm back to Lagos on Monday again, refreshed to continue with it. Also, that experience for us was not the most palatable one. Having to always take money out of pocket sometimes, and the same pocket is not being replenished or adequately replenished by the firm because the firm has to come first. That has been an experience that not only reoriented us, but gave us the right perspective towards sacrifice and business growth. We know the sacrifices we have made. So even when money comes in, we are not the first to say we want to splurge or spend it anyhow. We are very prudent. We are thoughtful in our spendings. Those are things that have been influenced by our experiences. And thankfully, we have been successful so far. A lot of people have come around to give us a chance and take a chance on us. And we have been able to build a practice where clients trust us with their services. And now, I would say we're on our way to profitability. We can sustain our practice, which is a successful thing. Because from my experience, many businesses in Nigeria are surviving on debt. But thankfully, we are proud of our way around that. We don't owe any banks. And that's to the glory of God. So let me just okay, thank you. Okay, I just got a notification. Okay, duly noted. Okay, let me just now go to some stories that will guide how to advise people who have decided that they want to consider starting their own law firm. Aside these C's, competence, collaboration, and capital, I'll give you a few stories that will just give context. Number one, when I launched the firm and we started our practice back then, the first 3 months, I think, if I'm not exaggerating, we didn't have, okay, we had 2 clients, maybe 3 months. So it's not as if we started the firm with established clientele. We actually came from scratch. Now, some people might say that's foolishness, but let me just say this, and this is not to sound like I am being a psychophant. Some people might consider it as psychophancy. But I don't believe in private practice when you're working for someone. So I can say this with confidence. Whoever believes me, you don't, that's fine. I did not have any clients as of the day I left Dealhq. I had not been doing any work by the side for any clients. So there was no one that I was taking along with me to start my firm. And I did not poach any of my that I just as clients. But the day we launched and put out the information that we are launching a firm, the first objective we had was to even let people know who we were. So aside, digital marketing and all that approach and all that, the next thing became, how do we put it out there that we're about to start a firm or we have started a firm? There's different approaches. There's no one size fits all to this. But what I did was cold email. I cold email everyone that I remember meeting, anyone I could think of that I met at a conference at this place or that place in the last few years of my practice. Told them that I'd left my previous employer, I started my own firm, and they're interested in doing business. Let them know. Emphasis on I did not reach out to people that I know were associated with my former employment. Some people might say, oh, the game is the game. That's different. I don't believe in that. I was particular about respecting that relationship and nurturing it till today. Hence why I can be on this session. I got a few responses, some didn't respond. I think out of those cold mail, the first response came, if I'm not mistaken, 8 or 9 months later. 8 or 9 months later. So I have to be very clear. There is no hard and fast truth to it. Though. Some people, it's email that you are lucky enough to send, and somebody said, let me give you a shot. Some other people, as little as a phone call. Oh, I remember you from that time you did this for me at your former place. I think I want to give you a shot. Different experiences. But one thing that stood out for me, which I would like to round off on because I have a few more minutes, is the matter of integrity. I will say this now. I still stand by it. It's not by force to run your own business. If you know you don't have the capacity, if you are competent, apply to good law firms, you'll get a job if you are competent. Or if you decide to run your own business, please do well to not paint the image of the profession. So many people are out here in their defense trying or in a defense to make something of their practice are doing unspeakable things, and it's really disappointing. I remember a particular scenario. Speaking on integrity, we had just launched. It was within the first 4 months or 5 months. Someone reached out to us, bringing us back from our days in university. Said he wants to get some investment from a client. Also, it was talking to some potential investors. So the client was talking to some potential investors. They wanted to get some investment, but they asked him for a legal opinion on something. So he wants us to draft a legal opinion. It's a simple transaction, right? We do our research, we send a legal opinion. We sent it. He wasn't satisfied with the outcome of the legal opinion. And then he demanded of us that we change the legal opinion to fit the narrative that would please the investors. Bear in mind, these investors were foreign investors. 1. 2, I should lie on an official document that you will send in my letterhead and tell you that this is what the law says when that's not what the law says. So even if I were to follow through, because he incentivized us, said, if you do this, when investment comes, you take this percent. Even if we had done it, are those investors so foolish that they cannot hire another law firm in the same nation to make sure they can clarify what we said? And then those people confirm that this is not the way. By that, you have caused disrepute to my own brand. Those people now know that we're either incompetent or fraudulent. But if I had said, we just started this practice, we need money right now. This investment comes in, if I take 10%, that one can last us for another few months, or at least can save it and invest it and use it to do something good. He said no. We refunded him his money in full. Some people say I'm proud. I don't mind. I refunded him his money in full. He said, good reading. And that was it. Went our separate ways. I have not heard from him in the last 5 years. I don't know what's going on with his business, but I know mine is doing fine. I'd just like to round off on this note. It's not every time you see people do something that you do it because you think you understand it. I would just like to reorient us on that. Running a business is not easy. But what you need to do, if you truly mean to run a business, especially as a lawyer, which is legal practice, running your own practice, ask yourself why. If you know why, if you have the why, you honestly can get through anything. I have my why. It motivates me to keep going. It's not a selfish reason. It's not something that is particular to me. It's the fact that I know that I am providing services to people. I am truly being of value to businesses. And most importantly, I'm building a competent team. That is my why. If you don't have a why, in times when you have to be or do things with integrity, you will fall short. Or when times are hard, you won't scale through. Or you break your principles, you compromise. Be sure your why is a good reason. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you very much, Mr. Joshua Danijo. That was quite an insightful session. Personally, for me, I learned quite a few things that I've not paid attention to over the course of my very short career. I noted something particularly, but we are constrained for time, so I'll just maybe discuss with you behind camera. So let me read this question from a participant, Julius Chukwudi. He said, thank you so much for your insightful presentation, Mr. Joshua. You noted that business development for a legal practitioner in Nigeria is not business as usual due to the restrictions on solicitation imposed by the RPC. Please, can you give us practical steps on how a legal practitioner in Nigeria can ethically engage in business development? Thank you.
I think I'll just like to correct something I said earlier when I said hoodwinked. Let me just clarify. They did not hoodwink us because they took us through 6 years of training, 5 years in school, and 1 year in law school. We are the ones that decided to become lawyers. So nobody tricked us into it. But there's a point of reorientation. Many of us enter legal practice with so much pride. I think it was Mr. Olajide that said it earlier. The law. So naturally, you think everything revolves around you as the law. But what you have to realize is, apart from the fact that you're not the only the law, and there are so many the laws, there's also the fact that you as the law needs to orient and prove that you are not just the law, but you are the law in this particular sector. So one or two things that can help is one, try and build thought leadership. You're not too young. I remember one of our SBL conferences some years back. I was part of the planning committee. We were picking out speakers. We reached out to one guy at I think either Templars or Alex. I can't remember the employer. The guy at the time in Nigeria was one of the few people that had been shouting about AI. This guy was a 1 year, maybe just post NYC lawyer. And we reached out to his employers to confirm how competent he is to speak on the matter. And he was the speaker for that year on AI. Spoke at the SBL conference for that year on AI. That was about 3 or 4 years ago. Of course, that has changed now. But at the time, he had built thought leadership. So don't say, oh, I'm just 2 years into my profession. If you have seen a particular niche in the legal practice that you think you will stand out on, start talking about it. Start putting yourself out there. Start looking out for speaking opportunities. Do webinars. Put out, write-ups on it. Somebody will notice you. Somebody will give you a chance. A foreign person might just, take a chance on you. That's one. Two, be outspoken. No, not loud. I think Mr. Olaji addressed that earlier. Be outspoken. Put out things on LinkedIn. Attend conferences. Put out pictures and videos of the event you attended, people you have spoken to at such events. Every event I go for, I always have a list of people I'm following up with afterwards. So yes, don't be so focused on the fact that you cannot advertise in the natural way people advertise. Advertise through the information you can share with the world. This is a generation of sharing, and sharing. So you to put out what you can share. That'll be my advice.
Thank you very much, Mr. Joshua. That was a very detailed answer. We have some other questions on the group chat, but we might not be able to take them as we still have other things on our agenda. So thank you so much, Mr. Joshua. I really appreciate you for joining us and dishing out from your well and value of experience. One thing I noticed was that you spoke from the heart. There was no what how do they say it now, perspire to acquire, and there was a bit of that, but it was, as they would say, but it was very, very outspoken, and I really learned a lot as a young lawyer myself, and owning my business development skills. Up next, we'll be having our panel sessions. Our panel sessions was these panel sessions were put together due to feedback from certain undergraduates that we've hosted as summer interns, and I've had a chance to converse with during the course of the year and maybe before that. We've put out this panel session, to answer some of these burning questions in their burning questions that they've had for a while. And we've lined up some great speakers who would speak to these topics. I wouldn't mention the topics now. I would hand over to my colleague, Precious Omokwe, as we introduce. As we commence the panel session, Precious Omokwe, you have the floor.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes. Okay. You're all welcome to our first panel session. This session is titled Recruiters' Secrets, What Firms Are Really Looking For. So the goal of this session is to give you a direct window into what happens on the other side of the hiring table. Also, to equip you on the knowledge you need to be ahead of your peers in the competitive job market. So without wasting much of our time, I would go ahead to introduce our panelists. And the first on the list is Ms. Stephanie Okwe. Ms. Stephanie Okwe is the head People, Process and Culture at Dealhq Partners. Next is Ms. Olubusola Ajala, founder, Strictly Law Business. And the third on the list is Ms. Ijoma Ucheibe. She is the senior practice manager, Peston and Grace LP. And fourth on the list is Mr. Anthony Iribo. He is the lead administrator at Dealhq Commercial Solicitors. Thank you so much, our panelists, for joining us. And we expect to have a great time in this conversation. So for our participants, please bring out your writing materials so that you can benefit out of this fountain of wisdom that we've gathered for this session. Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon, Precious. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Can we all hear me?
Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I hope you
So my first question will go to all the panelists. My first question will go to all the panelists, and because we're pressed for time, I would expect that we go through the answers within 2 minutes for each of the panelists, starting from Mr. Anthony Iribo. So my question, in a highly competitive market, recruiters often receive hundreds of applications that are technically sound. So what separates a candidate who is simply good on paper from a genuine contender for the role? The qualification, aside the qualification, what sets aside that genuine contender from other applicants that are good on paper?
Okay, thank you,
Mr.
Precious.
Anthony.
Yes, I hope you can hear me clearly.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, I would start by saying thank you to you and thank you to Dealhq Partners for the opportunity to
have this conversation. I want to apologize that my video is off. I've been unwell, but I made a commitment to be a part of this conversation, and I feel it's a very important conversation to have, which is why I'm still here, right? To answer your
Thank
question,
you so much for the sacrifice.
no problem at all. No problem. To answer your question, I would say that in my experience, a few things that we point out that help us identify candidates that stand out, because you receive multiple CVs, you receive hundreds of applications. Some of the key things that stand out for me in my experience, the first is how you put together your CV. Your CV is the material that tells me who you are, right? How do you put it together? Does it look, in terms of presentation, are you putting together, or have you put together everything about yourself in a way that looks attractive, right? So the fonts you use, the tenses, the fact that you don't use various fonts, just basic presentation, and then how you sell yourself in your CV. In that short space where you are able to talk about who you are, how are you able to do that? And then things like your hobbies and extracurricular activities. It just gives a picture of the kind of person that you are, the things that you're interested in. And also, if you have things in your CV or in your application that show that you are interested in personal development. So, of course, we know that you are probably green, you don't have that much experience, but in your CV, we can see that you have engaged in things that show that you're interested in developing yourself. So I'll just stop there.
Thank you so much, Mr. Anthony. Please, can we hear from Ms. Busola Ajala?
Okay, good morning, or it's afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for this beautiful session. One of the things I would say is that, like Mr. Iribo said, your application, your CV, the email that you even sent to apply, your email application. So in my experience, one thing I've found, and I know we're in the era of AI, everyone is trying to leverage artificial intelligence and all of that. But you in the use of artificial intelligence, or in your leveraging artificial intelligence, you've got to be very, very strategic. You've got to be very, very attentive, paying attention to details. I mean, I once received a CV, and you could tell that the whole entire email application, not even the CV itself now, the email application was copied from ChatGPT. How did I know that? Because the areas where they would say email subject, all of those things you have to insert yourself, that person forgot to do it, just copied and pasted and sent. So for me, in fact, there was no need opening the CV. There was no need opening the CV of that individual, right? So again, how do you come across? Remember that the recruiters are on the other side. They can't see you. They don't even know you. They've not heard from you. So your email application and your CV is what gives you a foot in the door. So how do you then package it? So packaging, in terms of, some people even send CV and there's nothing in the body of the email. Oh, they said we should apply, and then you just send your CV. There's nothing in the body of the email. You are not trying to sell yourself in a way you are attracted to the recruiter. So for me, I think don't just have it. And again, a lot of people don't even know how to highlight the value. And even if you haven't worked before, you are just an entry level, trying to get into the job market. Even if you have not worked before, what have you done? It could be from even chores that you've done at home, right? It could be from the ways you've actually led while you were in university. What are the things you have done before that can position you or spotlight you as a person of value? So a lot of people also do not know how to highlight the value bring. You think, oh, I haven't worked anywhere before, I haven't done anything. But think again through it. What did you do while you were in university? Did you lead a team? Even in law school, were you a group leader? Did you lead a team? Did you lead a team in maybe your social organization, your churches, and all of that? Those things are value that you can actually spotlight in your CV that positions you as somebody, you may not have worked before, but you've got some skills and some experience that can be transferable. And then an employer, looks at it and is able to say, okay, yes, I can give this person a shot.
Thank you so much, Ms. Busola Ajala, for that expansive answer. Ms. Stephanie Okwe, please, do you have anything to add to the conversation?
Thank you, Precious. Please confirm that you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you very well.
Thank you. Thank you for this time and for the question. First of all, I agree with my co-panelists. When Busola was speaking about someone who sent her an email or an application and it was obviously copied from ChatGPT, I had the same experience not too long ago, and of course, I wouldn't even bother. So thoroughness, attention to detail, which is one thing that you will constantly hear in Dealhq partners, attention to detail, and it's in the little things. I need to see that you put some thoughts in your application. So if I say send a CV and a cover email or a cover letter, and you just throw the CV at me, you don't say anything to even push your application. You just dump the CV. You didn't take your time to look at the job requirements. So tailoring your application to the requirements of the job and attempting to speak to the requirements will help a great deal. I don't know if I can speak to when you have been shortlisted and you have an opportunity to interview. Does this question cover that area too?
Okay, we would come to that in our next question.
So being strategic, like Busola has said, putting effort and researching the firm or the company that you're applying to. So I've seen applications where someone is saying, dear hiring manager, or application for so role in another firm, but you are emailing me. You're emailing Dealhq partners, but your application has the name of another law firm. I mean, you didn't think about, you're just sending applications everywhere. So thoroughness, that's what I will add. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that answer. And Ms. Ijoma Uchebe, so I would want to direct the question to speak to other things. So are there times where the content of the resume submitted outweighs the presentation for you?
Okay. First of all, thank you to Stephanie and Dealhq for this opportunity to talk about this. I've been listening to my fellow panelists, and it's almost as if they're echoing what was in my head. But are there times that the CV speaks to me more than what the presentation is doing at the interview? Yes. You've had those situations where you are hoping that, okay, this person is able to translate whatever it is that they have put on the CV into actually speaking to it. But beyond that, what I look out for especially are three things. I wish I had more time. I would have explained how I look out for these things. One is, we are all lawyers. I'm a lawyer. I've been a lawyer for 14 years. I know the law. You know the law. But how are you able to apply that law to create impact? How are you able to apply it to solve a client's problem? And even if you are just leaving law school, I want to be able to see that this person is thinking about my client's business. It's not just coming to tell me, I was able to find NWLR in the library and I used this part to draft this process. Beyond that process that you are drafting, how are you able to convey to me in one line in your CV that that process that you served on the client's opposing counsel, for instance, was able to solve an issue for me? And I will take an example because I'm going to speak partly like a lawyer. we know that ex parte orders typically take 7 days, and then after 7 days it expires. But in that 7 days, if it doesn't solve my client's problem and you're not able to tell me that in an interview, I start to wonder whether beyond just the interview that I just had with you, if there's anything that I'm able to take from your CV. Now, the next thing I also try to look out for is emotional intelligence. And how do you look at emotional intelligence? I know how we can be very under pressure sometimes in law firms. I want to be able to see that this person is able to own that role, right? Not just in the way that they are speaking to it at an interview, but in the CV. And I think it's just a way that I am able to find that out that, okay, these 3 things, this person is commercially aware. It's not just the law that this person knows. This person is emotionally intelligent to take care of a client's problem because we are in law as a business. So I want to see that in your CV. Then lastly, but most importantly, and I think this is a skill, I'm thinking of even setting up a masterclass to teach this ownership mindset. Yes, a few of my colleagues have said, oh, if you don't have it, you don't have it. Well, I know that it can be taught because you need to be able to take on whatever tasks I give you as your own. I don't want you to take it because there's a appraisal happening in May or June. So let us do it so that we can get bonus. No. But when you're able to own it, and it even tells from your CV that the words, the verbs that you use are able to tell me that, okay, this person didn't just work on this task or made sure that the client's problem was resolved, but you could tell that he went over and above. So are there times that you have candidates that are too shy to transmit this thing to you when you are interviewing them? Yes. But what I do is sometimes I actually go back to their CVs and I find out that some candidates have very fantastic CVs, but they're not able to translate that. There are 2 reasons. It's either ChatGPT, which is everyone's enemy right now, or they might be very, very shy. So when I'm able to find that out, I said, okay, let me just go back to your CV and pick out a few things. And when those words or verbs jump out at me, I'm able to make my decision sometimes.
Thank you so much for that answer. So you've mentioned interviews and candidates conduct during interviews. So I would want to ask a follow-up question to that. So some candidates walk into your interview with a strong presence and a good command of their narratives. So are there times as a recruiter that you feel this confidence or overconfidence is a red flag?
That's a very, very catch-22 question. Yes and no. Yes, because you don't exactly know why I'm asking that question. It could even be a situational judgment question, but the way you are answering it, you're giving me the typical interview answers that you have gotten from ChatGPT or either of these search engines. And then no, in the sense that there are times that I ask that question, and depending on the way that candidate answers that question, you can tell that they've either been in a situation or work situation like that, they've lived through it, so they're speaking from experience to tell you that not only do I understand your question, but if you put me on that kind of situation right now, I can deliver.
Thank you
You're
so much for
muted.
that answer.
Okay.
I would want Ms. Busola Ajala to contribute to this. So are there times where that overconfidence, at that time where that owning your narrative becomes a red flag?
It depends, right? Because sometimes, let me say that I have had times where I have had to stop in the middle of the recruitment session and then just pause and then say to the candidates that I am not, at this moment, I'm not speaking to you, or I'm not going to be addressing you as a recruiter. I'm going to be seeing you as, maybe someone who wants you to succeed, who is genuinely interested in you. And then I give pointers to say, I think that from everything we have said so far, and from what I have seen, because for me, one of the things I usually also do is I check their digital footprints to see, because sometimes people can write a whole lot in their CV, but it doesn't match what you see by the time you check them out. So I remember a candidate I was recruiting, very good, but she couldn't sell herself very well, trying to sell herself short. And I said, see, you don't have to be, you don't have to be, there's no ability. I think that's what we normally use, right? That you are good, you've done the work, you know what it is, right? So project your value and don't be unapologetic about it. Don't be apologetic about it, right? Don't be ashamed to project your value, right? So for me, but at other times also, when I see people who are trying to be cocky, overconfident, I try to also then probe further to know, is this person trying to put on a facade? What actually is going on, so that I know. And if I sense that, okay, this is some sort of overconfidence, and then I'm also able to then step down from, being a recruiter, to then also offer some tips and guidance to say, I see that you are good, you are confident and all, but you are taking it overboard, and this can be a red flag, not just for me but for other recruiters. So I try to sort of set them right in the little way that I can.
Thank you so much, Ms. Busola Ajala, for that response. So I would want to announce to our participants that you can go to the chat box and drop your questions there. We will take the question at the end of this session. So go to the chat box and drop your questions there. So Ms. Busola, you've spoken to interview and conduct an interview, but I would want Mr. Anthony to contribute to this question.
Precious, you are muted, so I can't hear you.
Okay, I'm so sorry for that. So I was going to ask you a question on interviews. So in situations where a candidate is asked a question during an interview, and the candidate does not have the answer to this question, or they don't have the best answer to this question, what is the most effective way for them to respond to this answer while maintaining positive impression? So there are times where you are asked question, or I am asked question in an interview, I don't have the best answer to that question. So what are the effective skills that I should display at that point to also maintain my candidacy in the assessment process? That's my question.
My honest advice from my experience is to be sincere. If you, and especially if it's a question around your technical ability. So I'm not a lawyer, but having worked with lawyers, you know that there are certain things that I expected that you should know, maybe from your level of experience or what you put in your CV. So if you ask a question around a particular thing that is technical, because you are dealing with lawyers, people interviewing you are likely lawyers involved in that. I would suggest that you, as much as possible, be honest, right? And in your answer to the question, if you've not had experience working on any of those things or things related to that particular technical ability, you can say, oh, I have not been able to, I've not gathered experience in this, so honestly, I may not be able to answer the question. However, I'm open to learning, which is why you are seeking out this opportunity, because you believe that this opportunity will give you the option to be able to experience this and be able to speak on this confidence. Because the danger in trying to just freestyle, if I can use that term, and just say whatever comes to your mind, you will likely end up putting you in more trouble. Because when they find out that you don't know and they begin to dig deeper, the fact that you don't know will actually be even more exposed. And the honesty that you display may actually work in your favor, because if you had questions and you talked about the things that you know, which is important, like at least you know certain things, where they know that, oh, this person doesn't know this particular subject matter. At least you can say, on this area, this person could answer confidently. On this, the person was confident enough to say and sincere enough to say, I don't have the experience to speak on this subject, but I'm willing to learn as much as I can so that in the future, I mean, you can use that opportunity to talk about the importance of why you want to join that organization or that firm, because you joining the firm to build that experience. I hope I'll be able to answer adequately.
Yes, thank you so much for your response to that question. Thank you so much. So my next question is for Ms. Stephanie Okwe. So, and this question is really important to me, and I'm sure it's important to other participants too. Please, can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yes, but you can hear and
There's an echo.
Okay, okay. So, Ms. Stephanie, from a recruiter standpoint, how do you approach assessing a candidate's social media activity during hiring process? We know that in 2025, my generation and also young generation, young professionals, we do a lot on social media. So can you address social media presence and the activity on social media and how it affects assessing a candidate?
Thank you very much, Precious. So it's a very important point and a very important factor, like you've said, in this time. For us at Dealhq, for instance, we don't just recruit or hire based on acumen. So it's a combination for us, character and acumen. And it's called digital footprint for a reason. It means you have left a trace of who you are when you're not in a professional setting. So we will check all your social media handles that we can find. And we will check because it will reveal who you are when you're not, in suit and tie, when you're not in a professional environment. We're looking for things that could be a red flag. Not that you shouldn't be social, but if you find someone who is consistently bashing a law firm, or his posts are aggressive, or some red flags in there, that's not the kind of person that you want to hire or you want to have on your team. Remember that when you join a team, it's not the CV, it is the person that actually works on the team. So you want to have people who are culturally fit, whatever that means to you as a firm. You want to hire people who are able to, who are not toxic to your firm. So it really matters what you're doing on social media. Your digital footprints actually do matter, and recruiters check. We check. And it's a factor, yes. If that answers your question, it's actually a little but not so little consideration in hiring. Thank you, Precious.
Thank you so much, Ms. Stephanie, for your response to that question. I would want Ms. Busola Ajala to add to give a response, our opinion on this matter. And also I would want that you highlight specific do's and don'ts that aspiring lawyers should put into consideration while being active on social media.
Okay. So one, your social media is you leave digital trails, right, via your social media platforms. We have seen or heard cases where people were denied, visas because of the things they had said about, maybe even another country that is not related to the country they're trying to apply. for visa from. So for me, I think that, and one of the things I say to people is that you have an opinion, yes, but you don't necessarily need to express your opinion online. You can have your opinion to yourself. You can, discuss amongst people, but you don't necessarily have to express your opinion online, especially when you know that it is very controversial. So do's and don'ts, and because our profession is one that requires a high level of discipline. Right? It requires a high level of discipline. So you want to ensure that at all times you come correct, you are not giving yourself away as one who lacks discipline, one who lacks, control, right? So for me, the do's and don'ts is, social media is a place like it's called social media where you socialize, but then also there are limits, there are boundaries to the type of socialization, social, interaction you carry on social media. So for me, it is, think about it. If I have to apologize about this thing that I want to put out, or this comment, or this, narrative that I want to engage in, if I have to apologize about it, then I shouldn't put it out. So that should be your maybe yardstick of measuring, what to do and what not to do on social media. If in 10 years or in 5 years you go back in time and you look at it and you'll be like, oh, I shouldn't have done this, then you shouldn't do it. Or if you know that it would jeopardize maybe your opportunities, then it's an evidence not to put it out there, right? So for me, I wouldn't say any do's and don'ts. That's like to measure what you should put, what you should do, and what you shouldn't do on social media.
Thank you so much, Ms. Busola Ajala, for giving us that scale to measure what we put out there and what we allow others see. So we're pressed for time. I will just take one question for all the panelists, and then we'll wrap up the panel session and take questions from our participants. So my question is, in today's job market, networking can be just as important as a strong academic performance. Yet so many students and young professionals are unsure of how to connect with potential employers without coming off as pushy or unprofessional. And I'm sure after this session, participants might want to reach out to some of the speakers. So can you give us practical steps on how participants or young professionals can reach out, can network with employers, whether in person or online, and then so as to leave a lasting and positive impression? So I would, Ms. Ijoma Uchebe, you can go on that question.
So for me, personal experience, I'm going to lead with a story. I was reached out to by a university, I think it was in April. And the first thing they did was to send me an email. And in that email, I could tell that they had gone to do their homework. They talked about the fact that I had a podcast and the fact that I had a YouTube channel. And then in a very shocking manner, they actually put forward suggestions on how to make a particular episode better. Now, because I'm always inviting people to make the episodes that I work on very interactive, it's something that most people would miss. But these are people who are in 200 level, who took time to research. They didn't just want to invite me to come and talk to them about something similar to what we're doing today. But it challenged me. And I have incorporated that feedback in future episodes that I've gone on to shoot. So what I always try to say is, yes, reach out. But at the same time, let this person know that you've taken time to do some bit of research. And for the love of God, please do not hire me and leave it at that. Expect me to come back and start asking what you need, especially because everyone is busy. But what they did beautifully, and everyone kept in touch with 3 of those undergraduate students. I'm going to call the name of the University of Nigeria, is that They took time to research, whether you would call it ego tripping or anything, but I could tell that they weren't just telling me things that I needed to do, but it was meaningful, it was respectful, and they were not in my face. So now I talk to them every now and then on WhatsApp. There are times that they reach out to say, oh, would love to intern at a particular law firm. Because I'm close to that practice manager, I'm able to recommend them to go and intern in those places. And why was I able to do that? I know that the time it would have taken them to research on me and come up with that letter, you could tell that that letter was tailored for me. So I know that they're going to go into that law firm and they're not going to, like I always tell them, don't go there and fold my hand. I can do that for them over and over. And even if other graduates come through them, I'm able to do that because I feel like the first time they reached out to me, it wasn't almost like I need a job or I need an internship, like you get most of times in my LinkedIn DMs. So when I see hi and then I see a CV, I might not really respond because they are not telling me anything. Everyone needs a job, everyone needs an internship, but I need to be able to have you sell yourself in a way that we both benefit. Because now that feedback that they have given to me, believe it or not, has improved my channel. If you understand what I mean, Precious.
Yes, thank you so much for that answer. So I would want Ms. Busola Ajala to contribute to the conversation in 1 minute. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Okay, first, one thing I would say is that be a person of value, right? Be a person of value because everyone wants to associate with people of value. Whether you are just starting out, whether you are highly placed, whether you are accomplished, everyone at every level wants to associate with people of value. And I'll give you a very simple example. When I was starting out, my organizations, one of the things I did was I wrote a whole lot of articles. Made up my mind that I was going to write back to back, Mondays to Fridays for a month, right? And interesting thing was the fact that I didn't know that some people were actually watching, looking, right? And when I needed to start my conference and reached out to speakers, it was very easy because, in fact, one of the articles I had written, a prominent, very senior, a prominent senior lawyer had seen the article and had extracted part of the article for a presentation at another, event. I didn't even know, but she came back to LinkedIn to talk about, oh, I got value from this article that Busola wrote, and I actually used it at an event. I wasn't even aware of that post, right? It was some other people reaching out to me based on that post that she had made, right? Now, it was very easy for me to then invite her to come and speak at the maiden edition of my conference. So can you imagine? I mean, again, I had in a way indirectly networked or built relationship with her by my work. My work had gone of me, preceded me, and projected me as a person of value. So by the time I then reached out to say, oh, thank you for, reading my article, finding it useful and all of that. And then, shared my whole idea with her and all. And by the time I wanted to invite her, it was very easy. Now, what am I trying to say? One thing I would say, I'm very, very big about LinkedIn. If your LinkedIn profile is not well optimized, please check the pain to optimize it. That's the first point of starting for you. Check the pain to optimize your LinkedIn profile because the truth is some people would not even accept your LinkedIn connection if your profile is not well optimized, right? How are you showing up? What are you doing on LinkedIn? And if you want to connect with someone or network with someone, you don't have to go to their DM first because a lot of people don't even check their LinkedIn DM. You don't have to go to their DM first. Start showing up in their comment section. They made a post, comment, not just say anything, comment reasonably and valuable on their post, right? Let them start noticing you from there, right? You can when you make a post or maybe you got some value from what they say, you can do a repost. LinkedIn allows you to do a repost with comments. You can do a repost, and just highlighting, oh, I got value from what this person said. These are my takeaways. These are the things I'm going to do. They will start noticing you. It shouldn't be until when you need something, you should now start reaching out because they won't even know you. A lot of people are reaching out. So you will just be another one of those people reaching out that would not be noticed. So start showing up, start connecting with them, commenting their, on their post, comment section, engage, and all of that. And when you are reaching out, be very, very strategic. Don't come off as somebody who is begging. Come off as somebody who has value, even if you may not be able to, help them or something. People, there may be something you may be able to volunteer to do for them. I mean, I've got people who say, "Oh, ma, would like to volunteer to, run publicity for you for your events and all of that." And that's value. They don't have maybe money or anything to give, but I mean, the little they can do in terms of volunteering or helping to push my message out is value they are providing. And such kind of people become memorable, and it's very easy to then ask for help, or even without even asking, you know that this person needs this thing, and then you just make the opportunity available to the person. So for me, show up as a person of value. Optimize your LinkedIn profile. Come correct, and then it will be very easy for you to network.
Thank you so much, Ms. Busola Ajala, for that response. Ms. Stephanie, please, can you just add one or two to the conversation before we round up? Hello, Ms. Stephanie, I think you are muted.
My apologies. So I'll just add that recruiters are also human. If you want to connect, you need to make an effort to engage with them. So the value you're adding, the value add could just be that you are paying attention to what the firm is doing. You are engaging. Honestly, I remember that we have had to hire someone just because she was paying attention to what we're doing, and she spoke to that, she spoke to what we were doing at that particular time. So we make a post, you are engaging, you are commenting, you're not spamming, but you're following. When you get the opportunity to then put in your application, that name will ring a bell. It will ring a bell, we will remember. Then you can also engage on their personal, maybe LinkedIn or so, but don't spam. There used to be someone that was sending me, it's a Monday morning, dear Miss Stephanie, so by Wednesday I'm getting another no, that's not the way. And I'll also say that if you've gotten to the point where you've sent in your application, it's okay to do a check-in. So I've also had to take people because they checked in maybe once or twice to say I applied on so day, and then you are reattaching your application and you're telling me that you're still interested. So it helps. All of this help. That's what I'm just going to add. But don't spam. Just keep it very professional. A little prompt, a little engagement here and there, and then let them know that you are genuinely interested. Let the organization know that you're genuinely interested in them because you know what they're doing. You're following, you're commenting. That's what I will add. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Stephanie, for that question. So just take one question from the chat box, and I would need Mr. Anthony to give an answer to the question, then we'll wrap up. The participant had said, if an applicant is older than the stated age limits, but had strong, relevant experience, would he still be considered for the role?
Interesting question. So it depends on what the organization is looking for at that time, because it's not a question that you can say yes or no to. And the reason I say this is because I have, in my experience, we put out an application, a job advert for senior role, and we ended up recruiting someone who was not for that role, but we found the person's application to be, interesting, so the CV and the experience. And so whilst we employed someone senior, we were also able to employ that other person who ended up doing very well. So it depends. If the organization has room for that role and sees that you fit the bill, of course, you'll get invited. And then once that door is open, it's now up to you to prove yourself. So it's not a yes or no answer. It is dependent on a number of factors. But to the extent that such an organization or such a firm is looking to fill that position, then the chance that you get invited is going to be high.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much to all our panelists for sharing your time and the honesty with us today. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And to our participants, please make the most of today to network with this panelists. Thank you so much. We've come to the end of this session. Thank you.
Well done, Precious.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Precious. And thank you, everyone. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Omokwe. That was really an insightful and engaging section. We really apologize if you could not attend to all the questions from the chat box. I personally have some questions of my own, but we are constrained for time, and we'll be moving right on to the next panel session. Panel session is themed Building a Value-Driven Legal Career. What are the expectations and what are the realities? We put together an incredible line of speakers, and I really am sure that our participants will get a lot of value from this session. So I'll be handing over to my colleague shortly, who will moderate this session and introduce our panelists. Poem Adejimeji, please, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you so much. Good afternoon, everybody. How are you all doing? I'm Koyi Adejimeji, and I'll be your moderator for this session. The session will basically be dealing with a theme that would focus on building a value-driven legal career, expectations, and realities. Without further ado, I'll be moving on to introduce the panelists. We have Mr. Nonso Azi, a seasoned legal practitioner and the principal partner for Azi and Azi Legal Practitioners. Also, we have Ms. Jola Oluwadewale, who is the head of compliance at Ikeja Electric. So it's a pleasure to have you both on this panel today. How are you all doing, sir?
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much. Mr. Azi, good afternoon. So great to have you here. So we're starting with Ms. Jola Oluwadewale. Yeah, I would like to start with a question about how many of us, especially as early career professionals, we start with the burning idealism, maybe perhaps inspired by cinematic portrayals of justice. But the realities, especially in a dynamic environment like Nigeria, we discovered that law is not as we take it to be. So thinking back to when you first started, what skills and values did you believe were the keys to success? And after a decade or more experience, how has your perspective on what truly matters changed? And what values do you believe are now critical to having a fulfilling and impactful career?
All right, thank you very much. I want to say thank you for inviting me to this panel. It's exciting to speak to young people when they're starting out in their career. One of the things I wish I had the opportunity to be a part of is a program like this when I was a lot younger, because it's important that as early as possible, you chart a quality career, you keep your eyes open, you're willing to learn various skills, become the excellent lawyer you can be. To your question, when I started out my career as a young lady, I used to think my choice of law was largely influenced by movies. I used to think that it was very glamorous, and that I would win great court cases. My name will be sung and my praises will be sung all over the world, and all of those funny books we get to read early. However, I quickly learned that law is not only about legal excellence. It's not just about the intellectual or academic prowess that a lawyer has. There's more to law than that. One of the key things or key skills that I found is crucial to make an excellent lawyer is resilience. When we talk about resilience, it's about hard work, doing the grind daily, keeping at it regardless of how hard it gets. Many times people think that when you work a particular job or a particular role, it would always be fun. That's not the reality. The same job that you find very fulfilling, you will have times when it will be boring, when it will be monotonous, where it would be overwhelming, and you will still have times when it is fun, exciting, and uplifting. So it's important that you understand that hard work really gets you ahead of the pack. Secondly is emotional intelligence. I wish someone told me earlier that it wasn't just about the best grades, but about emotional intelligence, understanding people, and effectively managing people, managing your bosses, managing your colleagues at work, and even people who work under you, people who report to you at work. It's very crucial to enable you fulfill your goal as a lawyer or your role as a lawyer. So those two things. And then lastly, I'll mention integrity. Integrity is crucial. Integrity is who you are when nobody else is looking, right? Many times people at work show different sides of themselves, maybe to their bosses, their colleagues, in a bid to curry favor. But if you quickly determine what your personal values are as a person and you bring it to your workplace, it helps you be effective. Quickly, people understand that they can rely on you on the work, and that pushes you ahead of the pack. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for your insightful response. I think I would direct this same question to Mr. Azi. Mr. Azi is a founding partner of his law firm, and I know that there has been a lot of expectations, especially for the early career professionals to start their careers in law. So thinking back to when you first started, what skills and values do you believe are the keys to success? And now with a decade or more of experience, what has been your perspective on this? Thank you. Mr. Anun Swazi, are you here? Okay. So I think we'll move on to the next question for you, ma'am. Your role as the head of legal, regulatory and compliance at Ikeja Electric places you at the intersection of law, business, and the highly regulated sector. So for young practitioners interested in working in-house, what are the unique challenges and what are the opportunities?
Just to let you know that Mr. Alonso Azi has sent in a message to say that he's having challenges connecting. So let's give him a little time to connect. If he's unable to, one of the Dealhq partners will join you so that we have a much rounded panel session. But let's give him about a minute or two.
No problem, ma'am.
You can go ahead with your question, Koim.
Yes,
I was just letting you know that we got a message. Please go on with Mrs. Adewale.
Okay. Yes. So, Mrs. Adewale, thank you so much for your insightful response. I would like to delve more into your role as the head of compliance at Ikeja Electric. This role has placed you in basically at an intersection between law, business, and a highly regulated sector. for young lawyers who are interested in a career working in-house, especially in a large corporation, what are the unique challenges and opportunities that you think they need to look out for? Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So for anyone who's interested in a career in-house, there are many opportunities. There are also challenges working in-house. Largely the difference between working within a law firm as a law firm owner versus being an in-house legal counsel is essentially one. Basically it means that for the in-house counsel, he has just one client. He's focused and entrenched in that company and providing legal services for that one client. For the law firm, he would be serving multiple clients. And so typically he may not have the advantage of knowing the culture of that particular client and being able to have that information as an advantage in giving or preferring legal advice. So the in-house legal counsel gets the opportunity not just to be the lawyer to that company, but also is a strategic partner. You know, you are in-house, you also have an opportunity to influence decisions at managerial level. You are able to influence the culture of that company as well, and you're better posed to mitigate the legal risk of that organization. So that's one major advantage that being in-house brings. Another obvious advantage, this is quite obvious, is the fact that for a lot of people who are in-house, they have a paycheck, a steady paycheck. And so it's sort of stable and gives you sort of like a safety net where you're not so focused on chasing revenue or bringing in business, but you're more focused on providing legal services. On the other side, lawyers within legal firms have to also actively find cases and find clients. And so that can add added pressure, but I mean also has added benefits as well, depending on who you are as a person and what your personal choices lean towards. So that's another thing the in-house gives you. The third thing is that because you are essentially sometimes you are the only lawyer within an organization, depending on the size of the organization, and you may be a team of 3, 4, then depending on how huge that organization. I think the largest in-house team I have seen within this country is about 20, all right? But very few companies have that much lawyers within a company. So what that essentially does is that you have to be broad-minded and your skills have to be diverse. You can't say, oh, I'm a specialist only in contracts, or I don't do litigation, I don't know much about litigation, I don't know much about data protection. You don't have that opportunity. So you need to gain as many skills as possible that would enable you add value to your organization. So you'd have to do contract management, you'd have to do litigation management, your portfolio, all the cases that come in against your company. You are the one who will actively be managing your external lawyers and ensuring that you get best judgment for your organization. So your skills are going to be diverse. You're not going to be just a specialist in one area only. You would have to learn a bit of everything. And that's why I always advise young people that early on in your career, don't be quick to say, I specialize in this, I specialize in that. No.